live. I am live on YouTube. I'm going to be answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. If you guys would like your own natal chart reading, synastry reading, progress natal chart reading, mini natal chart reading, mini synastry reading, you guys can send me an email. So you go on my website, underneath the readings tab, you select which reading you guys would like, an email window should pop up. So when the email window pops up, you guys send me an email and we will go from there. Welcome, 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 welcome everyone. I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. What should we talk about today? Hey Lisa Rose, how are you doing? What is new? What is new? What is the 411? What should we talk about today? I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. Welcome to everyone joining. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey Nate, how are you guys doing? How is it going? What is new? What's new, you guys? Welcome to the chat. What should we talk about today, you guys? I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. Do I read asteroids in a natal chart? Yes, I do. Which ones were you wondering about? I don't focus on them too much though. Okay, Nate, you said, can I tell you about, hey Beatrice, yes, hello family, how are you guys doing? What is new, you guys? Did you guys survive the rapture? We are still here, okay, and Hell. Did you guys see that whole situation, fiasco going down? Okay, Nate, you said, can I tell you about Mercury in Virgo in the 9th house square Scorpio ascendant? Okay, so anytime you guys have a square to the ascendant, it's basically directly conflicting with your identity, okay? So the way that you think is very grounded because it's in Virgo, right? It's all about the earth plane, but it's squaring your spiritual nature, okay? Is really what it is. So that's the struggle with that Virgo squaring the Scorpio ascendant. It's like part of you wants to be grounded, practical in the physical plane, and then there's this whole other aspect of you, the spiritual, metaphysical, and it's directly conflicting with the way that you think. You said you're still here on the earth plane. I know, so am I. Oh, it was just like a TikTok rumor, Melissa, that was going around. I was dying at all of the videos. Yes, that was an interesting part of the collective. Anyways, Nate, you said, let's talk about telepathy and energy exchange with the 12th house, knowingly and unconsciously. Okay, so basically, here's the thing. Okay, so here's the first thing. The first matter of the fact is we are all telepathic, okay? So that's already taking place. When you have 12th house taking place in your chart, you're a little bit out of body, so you're picking up on this more because you are psychic, okay? So anytime you're communicating with really anything, okay? So anybody from the other side, or whether it's another entity or being or whoever, okay? It's going to be through telepathy. It's going to be through thought, okay? Is really what it is. So it's this. So the thing is, like, already humans are telepathic. Like, you know, when you like think about someone and they call you, or, you know, they send you a message, you're like, oh my God, I was just thinking about you. Or like you bump into someone. I actually used to have a friend back in the day that every time I'll bump into this friend, I would be like, oh my God, I was just thinking about you, okay? So that's that telepathy energy, or like picking up on the energy, okay? They were thinking about you, maybe, you know, thinking about sending you a message, sending you, you know, calling you, whatever, right? So that's that telepathic connection. So we're telepathic first. When you're a 12th house person, you're already picking up on this, okay? So struggle is when you are unaware that you are psychic and you're unaware that you're intuitive, you are now picking up on people's thoughts and their projections, okay, onto you, and you might unconsciously be playing them out. So that's the struggle with the 12th house, because most people who have 12th house in their chart are unconsciously playing out what the people around them either want for them, what their thoughts are. They like merge, okay, to their surroundings is really what it is. Hey, lucky boy, how are you guys doing? I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. How are you guys doing? What is new? You said, how did the rapture rumor get started? You said it was or you were. You said I was amazing, or maybe you were amazed to see people so disconnected from the self that they sold the material possessions. I know, in anticipation of the rapture. Okay, so for those of you who are not in on the rumor, which is probably for the best, there was this whole rapture rumor going around, okay, that there was going to be the rapture, that there was going to be the rapture on September 23rd. So all of the intense religious people who believed in the rapture, which is just like so interesting to me because from their belief system, they think they're going to get lifted into the sky. Anyways, so a lot of the intense religious people, what they were doing was they were selling their houses, they were selling their cars, and like these people were convinced. So like I was very entertained by it because I was like watching the serious people, but I was also watching the satire videos. The satire videos were making me laugh so hard. This one person was like, oh, I'm gonna be on a plane, so I'm gonna be closer to the sky. You said it happened, we got left behind. Yeah, exactly. We are still down here. Is really what it is. So, hey, Lucas. Yeah, it says that your name is Lucky Boy. Is really what it is. So anyways, so the rumor actually got started because I went on like a deep dive because at the end of the day, I am Pluto and Scorpio dominant. So I was like, how did this get started? So I actually got started by some pastor abroad somewhere. I can't remember exactly where this pastor was, but this person, you know, started the rumor basically. And, you know, it kind of spread out throughout the whole Christian community essentially. And yeah, and then because of the internet and all of these things, it spread. And it's just like really interesting because it's like, it's just so interesting to see like what takes off and what doesn't, because you know what happened then, you guys. So on my Instagram, I always like to look at my archive posts because it tells you like what you did on that day. So 2 years ago, there was some other fiasco also going on around September 23rd. Okay. And I remember me and my friend, because the caption in the photo, it was me and my friend. And the caption was like, oh, like just jokingly, because we were also making fun of those people. We were like, oh, like, you know, elevating the vibes while, you know, the whole world is like, this is going to happen. But I can't remember what it was. Okay. So this was 2 years ago. I even asked my friend, I was like, what was it? But it was like another type of rapture situation, but it was more so in like the new age. So I don't know what the people were saying, but yeah, it was supposed to be something also on September 23rd. So I thought that was like so interesting that like they keep picking September 23rd because that's like the fall equinox. So yeah, so 2 years ago, there was also something going down. Hey, Green Eye Crow, how are you doing? You said the Bible literally says no one knows the day or time. They don't even read their own Bible. That's the thing. That is the thing. Oh my gosh, I shared it on my threads because, okay, you guys, one of the people in this like whole community was like, oh, like the rapture got delayed or something like that. Now I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember exactly what it said. And then one of the comments, you guys, I love reading comments because that's like my entertainment right there. Then one of the people in the comments, just like in quotations, was like joking and they were like, oh, Jesus didn't know that we changed our calendar. I was dying. Oh my gosh, you guys, I was so entertained. I was sending my friends all the videos that I was seeing. You said if they only knew rapture is death and rebirth of consciousness, the apocalypse is mass awakening. Yeah, exactly. It's not like you're going to go flying up into the sky. Like, that's not what's going to happen, is really what it is. I mean, I have a different belief system, and, you know, it's really interesting because I actually wasn't raised in any religious group or affiliation. So God bless for that, because, like, one less trauma to deal with, you know what I'm saying? But with that being said, you know, I'm not biased, right? So I learned about all the religions and kind of formed my own belief, which is what I talk to you guys about a lot of the time. And I don't think it's something that happens like while you're living here. I think it's like you exit the earth realm when you cross out of this airplane. Like, I don't think it's something that, and like a lot of the new agers are like talking about like, oh, there's going to be like a split. Like there's going to be, you know, these people and these people. Like, no, we are all in this mess together. I hope that everybody understands that. It's not like there's going to be like a split. You know how people talk about like, there's going to be this consciousness, which is going to be the elevated consciousness, and then this other one. I don't think so, okay? Because we're also living here together. You know what I mean? I think that happens when you exit this realm, okay? So it's this. I'm not sure what the cards of destiny are. Are those illuminated ones cards? Hey, welcome. I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. You said you want to ask the question about Saturn returns. You have Saturn and Aries in the second house, and you have, hold on, you have Saturn and Aries in your second house, and you have a 12th house Capricorn stellium. Wondering what I thought about that and what to expect. So it's going to be going through your second house. So there could be something going on here where it's like you learn all about your self-worth during your Saturn return, or, you know, you come into more of your power, because to me, that second house, it's like it's connected to your self-worth. It's like the solar plexus. So it's also kind of like you're basically like creating an identity during this period of time, because it's in Aries. There was like a restriction on the expression of the self, okay? Now, because you have the 12th house in Capricorn, you know, you could really be clearing through a lot, okay, during this period of time, because that's the thing with the 12th house, okay? I find that these water energies overpower a natal chart, which is so interesting. Just this morning, I saw a video about Robin Williams, and then I went to go look up his chart because he was such a sensitive soul, and he was like triple water. Sun, moon, rising, we're all in water. I'm like, no wonder he struggled down here on this airplane. I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. Feel free to comment below if you guys have any questions. And yes, check out my TikTok, you guys. Okay, you guys can find me on TikTok. It's BJOSIC. And then my Instagram has all my travel photos. So on there, it's Barbara. So BARBARAJSC. So my Instagram, my threads, and my YouTube are all the same handle. And then TikTok is the only one that is different, okay? So you guys can find me on those platforms as well. And then, of course, there's always my website, okay? Oh, I'm not sure what that is. I will screenshot that and then look it up later. I have never heard about that, but that is really cool. I always like learning about all those types of things. You said you've been studying the 12 house placements for a while and life has brought you to silence. There are things you feel you understand, but it also transcends language, sounds bizarre. You also have prophetic dreams. Yeah, that's that 12 house energy because you're psychic is really what it is, okay? That energy struggles down here on this airplane is really what it is because you're going against the Earth's energies. You see through the veil when you are a 12 house person. You are always merging to your surroundings because it's a water house. You're merging to everything and everybody, okay? And that's another thing that I've been thinking about too recently. It's like part of the reason sometimes people have a hard time letting go of whether it's, you know, their place they live, the place they live, or, you know, their partner or whatever, okay? Letting go of things is the longer you spend in like a certain situation, whether it's like the house or whatever, it's like you start to merge to that environment. Like, you know how people talk about like when you go out in nature, you're like merging to the nature so you feel better, right? So when you merge to the environment around you, you kind of take on like that environment as an extension of yourself. Does that make sense? So whatever's going on in your natal chart, you kind of project onto your environment as well. So for example, if you have a hard time letting go or you're possessive, you're going to be possessive of, let's say, your home, and then also, let's say, your partners and so on and so forth. Or like, for example, if you're a 12 house person, you merge, okay? So then you don't know where the beginning or the end is, okay? So I hope that makes sense. So it's like anytime you guys spend an extended period of time in anything, okay, whether it's a situation, relationship, house, apartment, whatever, right? It's like you start to see that particular person, item, thing as an extension of yourself is really what it is. So it's this. You said it's been a wild ride this past year or so. You think everybody feels it. Yeah, the energies have been intense. The energies are just going to keep getting more and more intense, you guys, because the shadows are being purged, right? So there's a lot of light energy that's coming into the airplane and it's actually coming from the sun. So that is kind of true. Like, this is what I mean. Like, everything has two truths and a lie. Like, even with religion, like, all jokes aside, like, there's still two truths in there, but also the lie, right? So a lot of people connect to the lie. And then what happens is when you're connecting to the lie and you don't know you're connecting to the lie, it turns into an inversion and it turns into dark magic, okay? Oh, that makes sense. So that's the same thing with the new age. So within the new age, there's also two truths and a lie. So like they're kind of on point about like when they talk about like the solar flashes or flash, like they think there's going to be one, but I think it's just like happening periodically. And I think like the energy that's coming from the sun is just like getting increasingly more and more intense. So that's why we have the psychopaths who are trying to block out the sun because the sun is quote unquote bringing through upgrades, okay? And it's really interesting because when you think about it, a lot of the Western countries where it's like all about capitalism and working and so on and so forth, they might not have, let's say, a lot of sun, or let's say, you know, it might be colder and all of these things. Because actually a theory that I had back in the day was that like places that are colder actually like are colder because like that's how demons live. So that's why like you also have like dark energies in a basement, for example, because it's cold. So like demons and like dark energy, like they like to be in like cold and like dark places. So I was thinking about how like Western countries, for example, where it's cold and it's like capitalism and all of these things, right? It's like they kind of push you to work versus like places where it's like sunny all the time and like just like the good vibes and all of these things. So anyways, long story short, what I'm trying to connect all of this to is the high vibes or like the new frequencies and new energies are actually coming from the sun. Okay, so that's the thing. Like, this is where people get confused and lost in translation because I personally don't think it's going to be one solar flash. I think they have been happening. Okay, these like high frequencies that are coming from the sun. So people are trying to block out the sun because the high frequencies coming in are basically, you know, bringing in the quote unquote upgrades, okay, within the body. But the thing is, okay, anytime there's a lot of light energy that comes in, all your stuff is going to come to the surface. So that's what's happening right now within the collective, okay? Everyone's stuff is coming to the surface is really what it is. So it's just easier to go with the energy and clear and purge versus like repressing it, okay? Because if you repress it, it's still going to come out just like in a shadow way is really what it is, okay? Oh, thank you, lucky boy. Yes, I do have 12th house energy in my chart. I'm a 12th houser, Sun and Mercury. You said feeling darker, more unpleasant energies lately. How's everyone doing? Yeah, you guys have to figure out how you can keep your own frequency high. And the only way you can do that is by doing things that you love or being around people that you love, okay? And that's really what it is. And trying to keep yourself busy, but like in a healthy way, not like in an avoidant way, but busy enough where like you can't merge the energy. So that's a struggle also. Okay, so going back to the 12th house energy, okay? So this Earth plane is very dark, okay? There's a lot of dark energy looming around this Earth plane because, first of all, part of it is like from the RITUALS that people do down here. But the other part of the story is just like there's been a lot of like WARs all over the world, like, you know, throughout the entire history, right? So because there's like a lot of, you know, this energy that took place, right? A lot of places, if you really hook into the energy, like a lot of places have a lot of dark energy is really what it is. So when you have 12th house and you're not busy and you're just like chilling, you're now merging to that, okay? So the dark energy that's like lingering around, okay? And also you're merging to the collective's unconscious, which is also really dark, okay? So that's why it's a struggle because it's like the 12th house needs time to be on their own to recharge. But if you're on your own too much, you are now merging to your environment, and the environment generally everywhere, okay, is pretty dark, and you might internalize that as your own self, but it might not necessarily be your own stuff. It could just be, let's say, the place you live or the city or so on and so forth. So that's why you gotta keep the energy moving, okay? And like keep yourself moving. So whether that's like literally like going to the gym and exercising and all these things, or keeping yourself busy, doing things that you like to kind of energetically distract you from merging. Does that make sense? Because if you spend too much time chilling, especially if you don't go to the gym, okay, you're gonna merge and there's just like a lot of dark energy just like around, okay? Is really what it is. Hey, S. Jamel, I hope I said your name correctly. Thank you for being a part of the channel. You said you have Mars in Scorpio. Nice, but it's retrograde. Oh, that's a struggle. And then you said it's in the 3rd house and your last 3 neighbors have been Scorpio and very unhealed. And then you said, why is that? Yeah, the 3rd house can be neighbors, actually. Is your 3rd house occupied by Scorpio overall? I'm curious to know, because is there sun going into your 3rd house? The struggle with Scorpio energy, this is the struggle, you guys, because it's like if you're Scorpionic, it depends always like how evolved are you, yes, but then also you could be evolved, but then you could like, you know, attract Scorpio energy into your life because that's just kind of how it works because it's like resonance, but like the other Scorpio person can be shadowy. Does that make sense? Or they could have a lot of inner work that they have to do so that it's like a struggle. Do you know what I mean? Because there is some sort of resonance there, but like they're not there yet. So then it just kind of turns into like this whole shadow energy is really what it is, okay? You said this North Node in the 12th house make you a 12th house person. I mean, part of your life purpose is connected to the 12th house. Personally, like you said, personally with the 12th house, it's a struggle because it's like, I find that the water energies in a chart tend to be so strong. It's just my own opinion because I'm always feeling into the energies, right? So I always feel it in a person, even if there's one placement, like even if it's like Neptune in the 12th, like I'll feel that within a person, right? So North Node in the 12th, it's hard to say like whether you're going to be a fully, you know, 12th house person, but there's still 12th house in your chart. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's still going to seep through because energy is watery. Does that make sense? So it's like someone like me who's psychic and intuitive, right? Clairsentient, I'll feel that within the person, right? That and Scorpio energy too, because it's like the water energy. I mean, Cancer too, right? Those energies struggle down here overall. You said people obsessed with politics are having a hard time now. Yeah, they really need to detach. Like everybody needs to like basically log off of all the political pages, okay, and exit and just go out in nature because the vibes themselves, like the energy is really high, okay? But then it's like all of this is trying to energetically bind people back to like the old matrix, right? And at the end of the day, there's no winning, okay? As long as there's sides, like this side, that side, it's always going to be conflict, right? So that's always going to pull you into your lower chakras. And that's what they're trying to do because again, the earth, right? And like the frequencies that are coming in are so high vibrational. People are kind of meant to focus on themselves and elevate and clear these things out so we can actually detach from the Matrix, okay, which is like the Saturnian satanic system, allegedly, in my opinion. But they're going to keep spewing these things at you because it's like now these days there's like an update every day, okay, in the political sphere, like this is happening, that's happening. But it's like, is anything actually happening? Do you know what I mean? Because it's like I hear a lot of words like they're going to do this, but it's always like they're going to do this. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like a struggle, especially with social media, because it's like back in the day they had TVs, right, where they could kind of like warp the mind, and now it's like their social media. So it's like it still trickles through, you know, your feeds, even if you try to like kind of adjust your, you know, algorithms to something else. So it's like they're pushing it is really what it is, okay? It's really, really what it is. All of these things to, yes, cause division, but not just that, just to siphon your energy is really what it is, to keep you in this energy of waiting and guessing. And is this going to happen versus like just being like, you know, forget this. I'm going to do my thing and I'm just going to enjoy myself. Okay. That's the thing. You said rise above polarization, which puts you into fear. Exactly. Okay. You said exit fear mode to access miracle mode. Exactly. And it's like, we don't need the whole collective to do that. We just need like a certain group of people, because the love vibration is actually stronger than the fear vibration, right? So if there's more, you know, people who are joining within the love vibration, even if let's say the majority of the collective is in the fear, like these things aren't actually going to pan out. Does that make sense? Like they need your energy to make these plans come into fruition. So yeah. There's definitely a lot going on. There's definitely a lot, but you have to like not feed into it energetically, because it's like the way that it works. And I'm not sure if you guys know about this, but it's like they put an idea out there because they need a certain amount of the collective's consciousness to make that thing come into fruition. Okay. So for example, when CV took place in 2020, there was, let's say like, you know, the majority of the collective who believes that, right? And that's why that manifested. But since then, they've been trying to throw all these other illnesses out there, and it's like they haven't been sticking, right? So, you know, the good thing and the shadow thing, right, with social media is, the good thing is like, because they're throwing out so much information, the collective's consciousness is scattered, right? So they're not able to focus on one thing anymore to make that one thing happen. So they're like, okay, let me try this. Let me try this. They keep like throwing things, okay, at the collective, but nothing is really sticking energetically from what I'm picking up on, okay? So there's that. But then the shadow thing is what I just mentioned, right? With the social media, where you get sucked into it and it feels like it's your reality. But if you like disconnect from anything that you're seeing and you go out there and you're actually in nature, you'll feel the vibration is like completely different. Like honestly, energetically, like it's really different out there in the world versus what they're trying to push. Like it's really interesting. It's very much like cognitive dissonance energy, okay? You said Scorpio runs in the family. Exactly. Scorpio does run in the family. You said you genuinely feel 8th house stellium ain't for the faint-hearted. Your sister has it. It's a lot. Yeah, 8th house Scorpio energy. It's all a lot. It's a lot of shadow work, but at the end of the day, like you're given that energy because you have the ability to transmute. So it's up to you what you want to do with that, okay? So everyone has to rise above the lower chakras, right? Which is like victim consciousness, blaming everybody, projection. Like everybody starts there, okay? So it's not like you enter this world. I mean, you do enter this world as a pure child, but then all the programming and all the things, because it's like a trauma-based plane. That's why it's like actually evil down here. Traumatize everybody and kind of pull everybody into the lower chakras, right? So then you have to deprogram all of that and release all that so you can get back actually into your inner child energy, which is the purity, okay? So that's the thing, okay? When I talk about, again, 2 truths and a lie in religion, that's true within religion when they talk about purity, but not like in the way they talk about it. It's more so about purifying the vessel and getting in tune with your inner child, okay? So it's like everything gets lost in translation, and it's also shadow patriarchy, so there's that too, okay? Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? I'm just going back up. Let's see if you answer. Okay, I'm still wondering if you're in the chat. You said curiosity would be a Gemini attribute. Yeah, exactly. You said, oh my gosh, no, I'm not like a psychedelic type of person or supporter of that. Because the thing is, okay, so this is what I'm going to say to you guys, okay, about the psychedelic and plant medicine community. Okay, so the struggle with that is within like those spaces, there needs to be a person who is an actual real shaman, okay? Not like a westernized person who's trying to capitalize and make money because it's a trend, okay? Not them. You have to find like a real shaman, which usually if you like are looking for the real deal, it's going to be someone who's underground and like kind of like word of mouth. Like I find those people are like the real deal types of people. Like you'll never find those people like out in the wild. You'll somehow stumble upon them, okay? So, you know, you have to have like a real shaman, someone who's actually going to energetically protect the space. So when you do these substances, when you leave your body, because you're leaving your body, the space is energetically protected so you don't have entities coming into your space, into your vessel, okay? But most people are like, oh yeah, you know, the medicine told me to be a shaman. So not everyone's a shaman, but they don't, first of all, have the energetic capacity to hold space for people. That's the first issue. But the second and main issue, I would say, is they don't know how to protect the space properly. Does that make sense? So, you know, when they sing, you know, the songs and all of these things, all of those things are meant to protect the space, right? Is really what it is. But it's like most people don't know how to do that. So because they don't protect the space properly, people are going to go to these retreats. They're going to do this, you know, plant medicine, psychedelics, and so on and so forth. And then it's like they leave these retreats with a bunch of entities, okay, within their vessel, okay, because the space wasn't properly protected when you left your body. This is why you guys have to be very wary when you do any of these things, because most people don't know how to leave and come back, you know, accordingly. Sometimes you leave and it's like when you're out of your body, an entity is going to come into your body, right? You know, the energy has to be protected energetically, okay? So that's why personally, if you don't have the experience, okay, in this, and you're not around someone who's actually like a proper shaman and it's one of these westernized capitalistic people, okay, the opportunists, you know, I would advise against it. You guys can do what you want. You have the free will to do what you want, but it's like you guys have to understand that when you do any substance, okay, it's shooting you out of body, okay? So when you're out of body, you know, you're not energetically protected, okay? You're just leaving the vessel there. Anything can enter. This is what I need you guys to understand, right? So who and what is entering your vessel, okay? But if you're able to find one of these like legit shamans, okay, again, the underground people, word of mouth types of people, right? And you're going to need discernment for this, of course, right? It's like if you're able to find one of these people, you know, they'll be able to protect the space accordingly, right? But even if you're doing it, you know, in your own free time, you still are leaving the body. That's why at the end of the day, it turns into any sort of substance. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're leaving, right? So what's entering your body while you're out of it? This is really important to understand, okay? You said, can you do it by yourself, you think, and energetically protect? I think you need a lot of... I think you could, like, I think it's a possibility. I just think you need to know yourself really well and to know, like, you know, what's going on within the self. Did this entity enter, and so on and so forth. Like, I find that a lot of the new age people are actually like energetically possessed by dark entities, and they all have like their eyes, like they're like wide open, like they look like they're like either like a deer in headlights or they're like scared. So I'm like, what's going on here? Like, who's actually operating out of your vessel? And like, even when people are channeling, that's the other thing. Oh my gosh, don't get me started on that. So when people come through and they're like, oh, this angel told me this archangel told me this, it's like, you know what's annoying about that? It's like they don't want to say that this is their idea or their thought. So they're giving, first of all, they're giving their power away to this other entity, okay, which is like, who are you actually talking to, okay? That's another thing in religions where I'm kind of like, actually, like, I see where you guys were going with this, okay? So there's that part of the story. And then there's the other part of the story where it's like, they're like not trying to be responsible for what they say, right? So it's like, if they tell you that Archangel Michael told them this, you can't go to them and be like, you said this. They're just gonna be like, no, Archangel Michael told me this, right? So that's like the thing that is annoying, or like the collective has to like purge also, because they don't want to take responsibility and be like, this is my opinion and this is my thought. They're trying to be like, this other person, entity, being told me. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, there's a little bit of just like avoidance of accountability. It's so subtle. Like, it's such like a subtle subconscious, like it's so covert, like the shadow. Obviously, like when people do these things, they don't have bad intentions. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying it's like a collective shadow of like not wanting to take responsibility and ownership over what you say. And I find a lot of the time it's feminines, okay, who engage in this, or people who operate out of the feminine energy predominantly, where they're not going to be the ones to be like, it deals with the solar plexus, right? The masculine energy within, to have the confidence in the self and to be like, this is my opinion, okay? Versus being like, oh, it's not my opinion. No, this person told me, Archangel Michael told me, you know. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, you have to have such a strong developed heart chakra, okay, and out of the lower chakras to actually even have clear information coming through. So this is why, like, in a lot of these books, is what I mean by two truths and a lie. That's why they talk about, like, in the quote unquote end times, you know, there's going to be false prophets, right? Like, nobody should be spreading. And that's how the information, okay, about the rapture, we were talking about that earlier, okay, the fake rapture that took place, spread, right? Because it's this person who's like saying, you know, whoever told them, okay? And that's the thing too. Okay, so, okay, oh my gosh, now I'm going to get started on this tangent. This is the issue also with religious people, okay? Because the religious people are gonna be like, oh yeah, no, psychics are this, like psychics, you know, are bad or demonic or whatever. But then they're gonna be like, God told me, or the Lord told me. Have you guys ever like listened to this? Because the thing is, like, I honestly, like, this is I have Mercury in Libra, you guys, so I listen to everybody, okay? So sometimes I listen to these like religious people talking and they're gonna be like, the Lord gave me this vision, like God told me. And I'm like, what's the difference between you, just because you're saying the Lord told me, and like a psychic person? Like, it's like, oh my gosh, a lot of them are so filled with like cognitive dissonance. It's just like, what is even going on here, you know? So Anyways, you said, and the channels never say anything profound that you don't already know. Exactly. So that's like why the end goal should be like, okay, so this is the way that I see it. Everyone should be ultimately empowered. And this is what the collective is going through right now. This is part of the purge. And this is why we're kind of like in the fourth density right now, like the fourth dimension, because the collective is like developing discernment, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, everybody, and this is what's going to happen, let's say when we are in the, divine version of Age of Aquarius, where everybody is their own vessel, you're in your own truth, you trust yourself, you don't have to go to external people to tell you things, right? But when you're learning your intuition, you might go to them to confirm what you're believing, right? But I hope you guys like see the difference in vibration, right? Like, let's say you go to someone to confirm what you're believing, right? They're helping you strengthen your intuition versus giving your power away to another person to constantly tell you, or to be this bridge for you between your own intuition and the other side, right? Like that's giving your power away, right? So like that's a different type of energy versus like, let's say you're training yourself, you're training your intuition, you're learning to trust yourself. You go to this person and let's say they're psychic or they're intuitive, okay? And they confirm what you're believing. It's a different frequency. I hope that makes sense, okay? Versus giving your power away and like constantly being like, oh, what does this mean? Or should I do this or whatever, right? Like you should be weaned off, okay? Because we're coming out of like this whole age of the guru, or this person knows better than you, or this person's on a pedestal. Like that is coming to an end, right? So the collective is going through this like phase right now of like learning discernment to come in tune, right, with themselves, okay? And their own psychic gifts and abilities is really what it is, okay? Yes, I talk fast because there's just so much to say, okay, and so little time. You said doing history and philosophy and studying theology, you realize religion as an institution is cooked. Yeah, it was just like a method of control, just like anything, right? Like personally, if you ask me, like I believe in God, I do believe there is a creator, and that's because I felt it, right? So that's like everything that I talk about is things that I have felt, right? And like to me, that feel true within my body. Does that make sense? So that's what everyone ultimately wants to try to get to, okay? And that's the whole game internally, I guess, or like down here, right? Of learning to trust your intuition. And you have to like sometimes like test yourself, right? Intuitively, because the intuition and logic, I mean, first of all, it's two different parts of the brain, but like the intuition is like, first of all, it's going to get you to where you're trying to go faster, okay, versus the logic and like the logical way of doing things, okay? And it's like the intuitive muscle, and this is why it's important to be connected to the heart chakra, okay? And the feelings. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people get cut off from their feelings. They get trapped in their lower three chakras. And that's why you have people chasing these empty things, right? And that's why they're never fulfilled, because they are cut off from the heart space. So, the collective does a disservice, or like the way that the structure is, does a disservice to people, right? But, even though they wipe the memory or whatever, okay, the story here is you still have your intuition, right? So it's like, the heart still remembers, or like the intuitive muscle still remembers. So that should be your internal compass, right? And you should be learning how to trust that so it can guide you, right? To go here, there, not here, not there, right? And a lot of the time you have to learn how it feels within the body. Like it's hard to teach. You can't teach people this, right? It's like you have to see what is it like for you, because different people receive information differently. Do you know what I mean? So good. I'm glad. Yes. Thank you. Yes, lucky boy. Exactly. There's just so much to say. That's why the channel is called Barbara Talks. You said, how do you see someone's going to be a shaman or whatever you call it in a chart, or like very sure to become one? And that's the thing too. Like, okay, so here's the thing, like, okay, there's different like names for the same thing, right? Because like, what's the difference between a shaman and a medium, right? Like people are going to get stuck on the technicalities, but like a shaman is someone who's going to kind of bridge the gap, right? Between the spiritual world and the physical world, right? So it's like, we're coming out of the time where those people will even be necessary, right? So that's why like, even these days, when it comes to like psychedelics and these things, like you need to be very wary of these things, because we're elevating as, a consciousness and as the collective, right? Like the frequency is elevating. So it's like, for example, let's say back in the day, right? These psychedelics or these like plant medicines, whatever you guys want to call them, okay? Used to be up here in terms of frequency, and the collective was down here. Yeah, they could bring you up, right? But we're surpassing this slowly, right? So when you surpass it, if you connect with it, it brings you down, okay? And that's the thing with a belief system and everything, okay? So same thing like in religions, and it's just so unfortunate because like certain religions, okay, I'm not gonna say which ones, but certain religions like have a lot of dark energy in there. And like when people do these prayers, it's like they're actually like without realizing like doing spells, and it's bringing in dark magic or like dark energy, or it's like making them energetically porous. Does that make sense? Like, because like maybe things that resonated 2000 years ago or whenever they even wrote this book, like can you even trust anything that's man-made? You know what I mean? But anyways, so it's like these things that maybe resonated and, you know, helped the collective, you know, elevate them, right? So again, maybe these things, these like rituals that people did back in the day, right? These religious things like helped elevate the collective. Yeah, maybe because the collective was down here, but we are surpassing that. So when you know, the collective's up here and you connect with this thing, it's pulling you down now. Does that make sense? So that's the thing with everything, okay? Everything has its own frequency and its own time. So maybe it resonated for a period of time because that's where the collective was at. So it was able to pull people up and bring these things up, right? But then it's like you surpass that. So back to the shaman question, it's like, you know, for a period of time, yes, you know, there was this person who was bridging the gap, okay, between the spiritual world and the physical world. But everyone is meant to come into this for themselves, okay? That's where we're going as a collective, okay? So it's this, but in general, like anybody in this world, like let's say shaman, medium, psychic, like the placements, because you were asking like what could those placements potentially be? I would say like a shaman, like this is someone who's going through the underworld, right? So that's definitely gonna have Scorpio, you know, Scorpio energy is gonna be in their Pluto energy, right? You're gonna have, for anyone who's psychic, it's gonna be 12th house energy. Cancer also, I mean, you know, any of the water houses or placements, any strong Neptune in a natal chart, it depends. Like it depends how the energy is being expressed, okay? But for someone who is like purging, okay, for people and purging like the darkness within people, that's gonna be a Scorpionic type of person, okay? I talk about astrology, metaphysics, whatever else comes up. So feel free to comment below, you guys. You said that's why you stay suspicious of groups where the host is so keen on speaking about their spiritual gifts and their abilities the entire meeting. At that point, it's not a meeting, it's just their sermon. That's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, anytime there's someone who has to be elevated above the group, that's narcissism, okay? It's like, it's this, right? So it's like, you know, even when you have like a religious person who's like, you know, singing in front of the group and they're like, you know, preaching this and that, like there's a level of narcissism there, right? And we just have to look at it for what it is. Like there's narcissism within the collective. It's within all of us because the system has been narcissistic, right? So it's like people have to be realistic is really what it is, right? So it's like, you know, for these people who start to like lead these cults, there's a level of narcissism there because it's like, you know, they are elevating themselves above the group and it's like they need to have followers. Like why, like why do you need to have these people worshiping you? Like in that type of vibe. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, the way that I always saw it, like even back in the day when I did Reiki, like the way that I saw it was like, you know, you want to wean these people off, right? You don't want them to become codependent on you. But that's the thing, like that's another shadow within the collective that's being purged. It's like codependency, putting other people on a pedestal, giving your power away, thinking other people know more than you. Like I'm all for having conversations and everybody activating each other when everyone's like on the same page. Like, yeah, but it's like, you know, as soon as one person's trying to tell you that they know more than you, like that is just like, you know, bad news bears, okay? Hey Eva, how are you doing? You said, speaking of channeling, has anyone noticed that the channeler has taken on a physical appearance of the entity? Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about to you guys. Okay, you brought me onto something that I really want to talk about. I was going to talk about on my other channel, which is called Barbara Talks Some More. But at the same time, I was like, do I really want to tap into these energies? Okay, I want to bring to your awareness, since it's coming up now anyways, okay? I want to bring to your guys' awareness two specific types of entities that I see operating through people so you guys can start to notice them and pay attention to them, okay? The first one is the serpent entity, okay? And the serpent entity is connected to like the hypersexualization. And if you guys notice, like anyone who is in these industries, right, where they're like, you know, just like hypersexualizing themselves and so on and so forth, okay? Like on stage and all of these things, have you guys noticed that they always stick their tongue out, okay? So that's how you're going to be able to spot the serpent entity, okay? And then I find it really interesting that, like, see, this is what I mean, like everything starts to like get enmeshed, right? Because then within the new age, you talk about Kundalini, okay? But it's like, you know, when I see some videos of people doing like Kundalini things, they're like moving in certain types of ways to me where I'm like, this is like the serpent entity that's operating through you, right? So it's just like people don't have a grasp of like sexual energy is really what it is. So then it like starts to like leak, right? Like, you know, like when something's like overflowing, it starts to like it's like an overflowing sacral, right? So if it doesn't have an outlet, it's coming through and like, it's coming through in like these different types of ways, right? So like sometimes when I see like the spiritual people and their videos pop up, because it's not just like the people who are like doing these things, let's say in the entertainment industry and like, you know, being hypersexualized in that way, it's actually like seeping into different types of realms. So within like the wellness industry, like they're going to be doing these like interesting motions. Like it's like a type of entity. Like when you guys see it, you can't unsee it, okay? But it's connected to the serpent entity. Like even the way they move is very like snake-like, okay? And then they stick out their tongue a lot, okay? So you guys will know that this is an entity. This is an entity that's hooking into a person, okay? So that's the serpent entity. Yeah, so they stick out their tongue a lot and like all of that. So that's the serpent entity. And the other one that I recently started noticing is the clown entity. Oh my gosh. Okay, guys. So the clown entity, this one is like kind of eerie, okay? So if you guys are watching this on like the replay, like click off now, any of these things, okay? That's gonna like creep you out. But it's better to have the awareness so you guys can see these entities operating within people, okay? So I always find it interesting that like kids are scared of clowns, right? And I was thinking about that because I was like, traveling recently and then I saw this like big like clown circus thing and I'm like, this is just like creepy and like eerie vibes. And I always find it interesting that kids were scared of clowns and like they push, like see how everything's inverted, so they push the clowns on kids to like make it seem like a friendly childlike thing, but it's actually like an entity, okay? So there's an entity which is like the clown entity. So I started noticing this within people and you know it's really creepy because it's like, you know, the Joker. So it's almost like this entity like hooks into people and it's like, okay, this is gonna get like pretty dark, you guys. So again, like, you know, click off now if this is like a sensitive subject for you. But the Joker person, like, did you notice that person crossed out? And then there was this other person who pops up on my feed, this girl in Spain, or not Spain, she was maybe in Latin America. I'm not sure now exactly where she was, but she spoke Spanish because she had a Spanish name. And one of her last videos, maybe one of you guys knows her name because I don't remember it now. This was maybe like a few weeks ago now. And one of her final videos before she crossed out, she like did clown makeup. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And then there was this other person who popped up on my feed who also like seemed like they were going through some sort of crisis. And they also were like doing like clown makeup. Like it's not someone who's like doing like a makeup artist looking like a clown type of situation. Like it's like an eerie vibe where the person is like giving Joker vibes, okay, you guys? Like this is what I mean. You need to start being able to feel into these energies so you can like differentiate between the vibes. So I was like, what is going on? So it's like this other person, I was thinking in my head, the other person who was like doing the makeup like a clown, I was thinking for that person, I'm not going to name who it is, maybe because some of you guys are going to know, but it's not like someone maybe who's commonly known. But anyway, so the other person, so I'm talking about 3 different people here, okay? So I'm on the third person, and this other person who was doing the clown makeup, I was thinking in my head, and I'm like, I feel like this person's sold out, and this is like the clown entity that's hooking into this person, and it's like this person used to be so attractive, and like now they're like out here like dressing up like a clown and like doing this makeup like a clown, and I'm just like, it's just so interesting to see how like the entities always come back to collect, and usually in some form of public humiliation. Like they operate through you, and then you do it yourself. Does that make sense? Because they're operating through you. Anyways, okay. Hey, Esperanza, how are you doing? Yeah, those are the biggest ones that I've noticed recently are the serpent entity. So it's like a snake type of entity that operates through people, which is so interesting because it's like the serpent has so many different meanings to it, you know, and it's so interesting that it's like on the penicillin too, that it's like supposed to be healing and like all these things. But it's hard to explain because it's a plane of duality at the end of the day, but it's a specific type of entity. So there's a serpent one, okay, so that's how you'll know. There's the clown one that I just talked about. That's like the eeriest, creepiest one, okay, it's the clown entity. So yeah, like definitely check up on those people like when they start doing like that clown type of makeup situation, because it's like, what is going on here? Like I need to do like more energetic research into this, but it's just an observation that I made. So that's the other one. Then you'll notice like, again, the blank stare. Like that's how you'll know someone is like kind of like possessed or whatever. It's like they have like this blank stare. I can't really say that it's a specific type of entity operating through a person. It's an entity for sure. I just don't know which one, okay, for like the blank stare types of people. But you'll see that a lot of the time. It's like this haze, okay? It's almost like a glazed over look. Like they're not in their body. And like, even if they think that they are, again, you know, the high vibes and all of these things, like you guys have to get good at like pinpointing like these things operating through people, okay? And honestly, you guys, sometimes like a person like goes in and out, like altars are real, okay? So, okay, I'll get to your astrology questions in just a second, but I met this person and it was so interesting because, okay, so this person, I'm trying to think, I think this person was like a Taurus sun. I can't remember their rising. I want to say that they had a Capricorn rising, but it must have been Earth, okay, because their moon sign was Pisces, okay? So the whole reason I'm telling you guys this is when I met this person, they were so put together, so proper. They even had like a mature vibe. I think they were a Capricorn rising, okay? And it was at a networking event that I met this person, and we started talking about like religious thing. So this person was kind of going in that route, okay, of religion. But anyways, I'm not going to get into too many details. So anyways, it was so interesting because this person actually told me that their family was part of one of those cults, okay? So I have to talk between the lines here, okay? But anyway, so I just like wanted more information on like what their family was involved in, right? Which was so interesting. So then we ended up like meeting up after, and I was like trying to ask questions, but like they couldn't say anything or whatever. So I was like, okay, so you know, forget it. Like I'm not gonna like dig too deep. It's just like the Scorpio way of like asking things. But yeah, like they would kind of like dodge and like bypass it. But anyways, the more that I would talk to this person, it was so interesting because I literally saw this like altar coming in and out, okay? Where it was like the Pisces moon like took over. It was so fascinating because when I just met them, they were so like, again, that rising sign, the Capricorn, like put together, even like the Taurus sun, all of this energy, right? Like it was like the earth energy, you saw the energy coming through them. But as soon as I started talking to them more, getting to know them more, I started seeing that mutable energy, and I started seeing like the altar energy coming in and out. Like they were like switching up. It was so interesting. So yes, that happens to you, okay? People also have like altars like coming in and out, and that comes from like deep trauma, okay, from childhood. Yeah, alter ego. Hey, Esperanza, how are you doing? You're talking about some person who's possessed. Yeah, a lot of people are possessed. Yeah, a lot of people who stick their tongue out. It's a lot of people in the entertainment industry. It's like 90% of them, you guys. And it's not just them. It's like in the everyday too. Like, for example, I saw this person who was under the influence and they were getting like arrested. This was a video that went viral. So this person was getting arrested at some sort of concert. Okay. And it's not just like, I'm just kind of giving you guys like the people who are in the public eye so you guys can identify it, but it comes through in regular people too. Okay. Because it hooks into people. And this person was like under the influence. So I'm guessing they were drunk. I don't know if they were on substances, but they were at a concert and they were being arrested. And like the whole time that they're being arrested, yes, they're trying to dance, but like they're sticking their tongue out like every 5 seconds. And I'm like, literally, this is like the entity operating through this person. Okay. So that's kind of how you guys are going to like be able to notice it. But like that tongue entity is the hypersexualized one. Okay. You said you went to a quote unquote shaman, fortune teller, lady who can read palm from coffee. Everyone has a certain spiritual skill, but everyone is and has spirit in themselves. Yeah, exactly. So you're going to have different people who have different forms of divination, right? But even that, you guys, eventually you want to like, eventually as we progress as a collective, nobody will need that anymore, okay? So if you guys are in the psychic world, you want to eventually train yourselves to not need anything anymore, right? Like those things should be, again, confirmations for you, right? Like whether you're doing the cards, oracle cards, whatever, the coffee, right? Like that should, you know, help you confirm your intuition, but ultimately you want to wean yourself off, right? Like it's like training wheels, right? You wean yourself off from all of these things. Like it helps you in the beginning, the pendulums, right? I mean, I even have videos on here. Like I started out that way too, you know what I mean? But it's like you want to wean yourself off so you can just trust your intuition. You think it, you trust it. You think it, you say it. Like that's how, you know, you need to learn to basically utilize it, right? Like how much trust you need to have in the self is really what it is, okay? Okay, there was someone up here that I wanted to answer. Hold on, where was it? Okay, so Eva, you said, what does it mean if someone has the same moon sign as your sun sign in the first house? Yeah, so that could bring through a little bit of obsession energy from the moon sign person because the sun sign person is the outward expression of you. Does that make sense? Okay. Or vice versa. So whoever's the moon sign person, the sun is going to be the outward expression of the moon. Okay. Now, a lot of the time you'll see, let's say in a heterosexual man's chart, the moon is going to be the woman he's into. So he might like women, okay, with the moon, like the take on the traits of his moon. Okay. Does that make sense? So you'll see that sometimes. And then they also say, for those of you who are interested, like they're going to say, you know, the main woman or wife or whoever is going to be the moon. And then like the second wife or like the side chick or whatever is going to be the Venus. Okay. So anyways, you guys can do with that information what you will. You said you're ditching this friend. The moon sign Libra is obsessed and hooked onto you. Yeah, because they want to be you, right? So you guys have to understand like the moon energy is going to be like internalized, right? The moon energy is internalized. The sun is like the sun, right? It's externalized, right? So if the moon person, and this is why like at the end of the day, you want to transcend your natal chart and like the people that come into your life, like you want to see what you like in those people, right? Or like why are you maybe attracted to them and so on and so forth, right? Whether it's a friendship or a relationship or whatever, because there's usually something within them or within you that's within them and vice versa, right? And it's like, for the moon person, the moon being in Libra, right? It's like they have to learn how to externalize the energy, right? So that's probably why you came into their life energetically on the energetic level. But what tends to happen is because they could struggle to express that, they kind of put it onto you, they project it onto you, and then now you become their internal world personified, right? Which again, if they're obsessed, it could be dangerous. Happens also with moon to ascendant, okay? Moon to ascendant can really lead to obsession as well, okay? Oh, good. I'm glad that resonated. You said you're a Capricorn sun, Scorpio moon, and your mom's Capricorn moon, Scorpio sun. You're complete opposites and you clash. That's so interesting. I wonder what else it is in the natal chart. You said you remember several times where I talked about the 12th house reflecting back others' beliefs and protecting themselves from that. Do I remember the name of that video? Oh, I'm not sure. I talk about that a lot. I have a whole 12 house playlist though. I'm not sure what exact video that was, but I talk about it a lot. Probably like maybe every live or every other live it comes up, okay? Because as a 12 houser, you internalize, okay? You absorb, okay? Maybe that's the better word. And then you end up internalizing because you think it's your own. So being a 12 houser, you have to develop the strong solar plexus. Everybody has to develop a strong solar plexus. Like that's the whole thing here, right? And that's what's happening within the collective. Everyone needs to develop that strong identity, okay? And like, that's the issue why a lot of the collective is codependent, right? Because they're in the sacral, in the shadow of the sacral, right? So it's like, we're going through the chakras, okay? And eventually like the collective will get to the heart space, but we're not there yet. So it's so interesting to me when people are like, oh, we're in 5D and you are. I'm like, have you read the comments on like any viral video? Like there's so much hate in the collective. Like we are so not there yet. But what I will say is those people, let's say the people who go viral and then they have all the hate comments taking place like underneath their videos, right? Like those people are actually playing a part in purging that energy out of the collective. Does that make sense? Like they're energetically purging it. Okay, so yeah, is really what it is. Not that they, like, I'm not saying, and again, don't twist my words, I'm not saying anybody deserves anything or whatever. It's just like, that's kind of what's happening. If you see, let's say a viral video or something of that sort, there's a lot of hate comments, like that person energetically is purging that, okay, for the collective, okay, because they have the energetic strength to do that, right? Not everybody has that yet, okay? You have to develop a strong solar plexus and expand your aura outwards to be able to process that energy, okay? But it's intense, like bless those people, okay? Because they have a hard task, right? Because a lot of energy is coming toward them. And that's sometimes a shadow, okay, of fame, right? And especially like, and this is the thing, right? Certain people who are in these groups, they get energetically protected. That's why they take on a different name. I talked about that on my threads, you guys, which by the way, I archived some of my threads, but then I unarchived them as well, okay? So anyways, I'll see if that one is unarchived or archived, but it's all still there, okay? But anyways, okay? So basically, like, when these people, you know, go through, like, their version of, like, a christening, because they're, like, in a different religion themselves, they take on a different name. Have you noticed that all of them have a different name, right? So by them taking on a different name, the energy is not being directed toward them, okay? It's being directed toward this other entity that they've created, okay? Identity, okay? There's entity and identity, okay, right? So they've created another identity by taking on a different name, so they don't get energetically, like, they don't absorb all of, you know, whatever is being targeted at them through the collective, right? They have this other name, okay? It's really what it is. So with that being said, okay, when you're like an everyday person and like now with these apps and so on and so forth, okay, and you know, you're not energetically protected, you don't know about these things, you don't know about the metaphysical world, that's why a lot of people end up having like mental health crises, okay, because it's a lot of energy that's coming at them. They don't have a strong solar plexus, they don't have a strong aura, especially if they haven't developed it. If it happened really fast for them, they end up having some sort of mental health crisis because it's a lot of energy that's coming at you, right? So you need to gradually be able to build, and I call this the holding space energy, right? You need to be able to gradually build the holding space energy. Now, these people who are in these groups, obviously they have more occult knowledge, right? That's just one thing that I noticed that they do is the name change, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that just because you change your name, it's going to fully protect you. It could, right? But I'm sure they do other things, okay? Because they have allegedly, all alleged, but they all have magicians operating for them and all these things, right? So the energy, like, they don't absorb as much, okay? But if you're an everyday person, again, let's say you randomly went viral and you are ready for it energetically, it's a lot of energy that's being directed towards you, okay? And that's why sometimes social media can affect people in general, right? And you'll see this a lot of the time with like Scorpio in the 10th house, Scorpio midheaven, okay? They subconsciously feel the energy that's being directed toward them, right? So that's why they like deactivate, you know, reactivate, delete the account, make a new account, because it's a lot of energy that gets directed toward them, right? So it's like you kind of have to gradually build, okay? It's the aura, right? And it's connected to, and it's not like aura, you know, when people say like aura points, like all of these words are just like getting like overused, right? It's not like that. It's like your actual energetic vessel, right? Like you have to be able to expand outwards. It's connected to the solar plexus, right? And then you go into the heart space. And the more you are in your heart space and you're heart centered, these things don't affect you, right? Because you're now operating outside of the lower energies. Does that make sense? Holding space energy, like being able to hold space for more people, right? So for example, let's say you're an everyday person, okay? Yes, definitely check out my Scorpio videos, Hannah, okay? I have a Scorpio playlist. I have a special Scorpio playlist, so Scorpio 8 house, and it's not really Pluto. I think I have Pluto in that playlist too, but I did do the Pluto videos, like Pluto through the houses, okay? So I have a Scorpio playlist, and then I have a Pisces 12 house playlist, okay? So those are my special 2 playlists. So check out my playlist. And if you guys are new here, check out all of my playlists. Thank you for the gift, okay? Check out all of my playlists, you guys, because everything is organized on my channel in playlists, okay? So let's say you guys are like, oh, what does this mean? Go under my playlist tab and see if there is a playlist for that particular thing, okay? And then you'll be able to find in there. And then all of my recent videos that I do, like the, you know, like based on your second house, based on this, based on that, that's going to be in the miscellaneous playlist, okay? Thank you so much for the gift. You guys are very, very kind. He says Scorpio is magnetic, the ability to turn that on and off as in cloak. Can you discuss that, please? Yeah, I don't think you can fully turn it off, okay? If you, okay, you can do some things because everything's through the mind, right? So this is how you guys start doing magic for yourselves, right? And that's the other thing too, like, you guys have to be really careful, okay? I'm going to say this again, okay? So this is like the theme of today's chat is like learning about discernment and being careful, like even if you're trying to do spells, okay? Because you guys don't know, you guys have to learn how to elevate your own energy and do it for yourself, okay? Energetically versus either going to a person to do it for you if it's a spell, doing spells, like all of these things. You have to be very careful because you don't know who you're connecting to energetically, and those entities are always going to come back to collect. And that's why I was saying a lot of the time people who quote unquote sell out, now the entity comes back to collect and they end up, you know, pushing them in this direction where they themselves self-destruct, right? But it's their fault, right, for allowing this entity into their life. So again, even when you're doing spells, you have to be very, very wary and very careful because you don't know who you're connecting to. And it's like sometimes these entities can be very deceiving. They can give you what you want, but they will come back to collect. This is what you guys have to understand, okay? So anyways, with that being said, okay, you can do everything in your head, okay? And that's the way that I see it. Like you can block things, right? Energetically in your mind. You can, you know, put like an invisibility cloak, right? Like let's say you're walking through a shady area, like you just think it in your mind, invisibility cloak around me. Or like whether you guys, you know, believe in God or the creator, you can be like, God protect me, or my angels protect me, right? Or just like, just in your mind, literally you just do it in your mind, okay? That's it. That's all you have to do, okay? Some people might say it's the placebo effect, who knows, okay? But that's how I do it, okay? Invisibility cloak. This person can't see me right now. Another thing that I do too that might be helpful for you guys as well is I always say things in my mind where I'm like, if I'm not meant to be at that place, interfere. Angels interfere, God interfere, like put some sort of interference. If I'm unsure about something, okay? Like I'm pretty good at picking up on the energy, but if it's like, you know, just in case, I'm gonna be like, interfere, okay? Put some sort of interference, like that used to happen to me back in the day anyways. Like, see, this is what I mean. Like, sometimes you're already doing these things without realizing. That used to happen to me back in the day. I had this one friend back in the day. I used to call this friend, like, my, like, angel or guardian angel. Because every time something, like, strange was about to go down, this friend, like, interfered energetically where they were like, oh, you want to hang out? You want to do this, okay? And it's like, back then, I didn't know as much as I know now, obviously, right? In terms of, like, all the shady things that go down in this world. And it's so interesting because one time I was going to go, okay, so let me tell you guys this story, okay? So, okay, when I was younger, you know, it was all about Facebook back then too. So I was in a bunch of Facebook groups. I was like in the entrepreneurship groups and, you know, always like running different types of things. So, you know, I was always out there, out and about. So I was in a bunch of these Facebook groups and this person messaged me and they're like, oh, thank God. Like I never cared about this kind of stuff. Okay. But anyways, they messaged me. They're like, oh, this millionaire is going to be here. It's going to be like this party. Like they're in the Guinness World Records. Like, oh, you want to meet them? And I was like, okay, well, one thing that I used to do was like, give me the location and I would look it out on Google Maps and I'd be like, okay, what kind of vibe does this like, you know, area give me? And if it gave me a weird vibe, I wouldn't go, okay? But anyways, what ended up happening was you know, the person messaged me or whatever, and I was like, okay, I'll come. And then, okay, this was interesting because it was a woman. This is how you know sometimes like women are the enemy too. It's not just men who like are involved in these shady things, okay? Allegedly, my opinion. So especially like if you're a young woman, the woman it might come to because you might trust them more, right? So keep that in mind if you guys are young and tuning into this video. But anyways, so the woman messaged and the woman was like, oh yeah, whatever, the Guinness World Records millionaire. And I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, okay, maybe I'll go. And then in my head, I thought to myself, and I was like, okay, if I'm not meant to go, something else will come up. And then my friend messaged me and I was like, okay, not meant to go. My friend was like, okay, let's go hang out. My friend didn't know, by the way. This was just like all happening because at the end of the day, I'm Scorpio, so I'm like not telling everyone my business, right? So anyways, my friend randomly messaged me. I was like, okay, not meant to go. And that happened another time with something else with that same friend. So I was like, oh my God, this friend is like my angel or guardian angel or whatever. So yeah, so you guys can do things like that. And you know what's wild about that story? Maybe like 1 to 2 years later, okay, another person, which was also a woman, so another woman messaged me too in the same type of way. Okay, now I don't remember where that person found me. Could have been also maybe on Facebook Messenger. Same story, you guys. Same story. Oh, this millionaire is coming. And that's when I figured out that it was like something shady. But it wasn't until years later because I wasn't even aware, okay, when I was younger, like how much like trafficking was like a thing, okay? That's when I put all the pieces together. Like maybe 5-6 years later, I was like, oh my gosh, like that was probably some sort of like trafficking scam or scheme or whatever. So yeah, pay attention, you guys. concerned. You said recently I uploaded a great playlist. You learned a lot about your energies. Oh yes, the one I shared with the degrees. Yes. You said, yeah, check it out, you guys. Yeah, check out my playlist. I have a bunch of different playlists. You said most of the time, the ones who don't desire power and fear are the ones who are worthy of it. That's the paradox. Well, here's the thing. It's like anything in life, you guys, okay? I always give the example of like, let's say you live in a country and like there's clean air, right? You never think about the air because it's clean, okay? So it's there, right? Let's say you live somewhere. I mean, I'm sure the people who live in areas that are polluted, they get used to maybe the unclean air, but like, let's say maybe you're not used to it, you go there, right? And it's like the only thing on your mind, okay? Because it's in scarcity, right? You don't have clean air, so you're only thinking about it. Like, let's say you visit a place that doesn't have clean air, or is like polluted or whatever, right? So that's the example for everything when it comes to manifestation, or like the metaphor or whatever way, shape, form you guys want to look at it, okay? If you have the thing, you are not thinking about the thing. It's only when you don't have it, you're thinking about it, okay? So if you're thinking about it all the time, you're in scarcity, okay? So that's what it is. So people who are chasing power are actually people who are powerless, okay? Or have felt powerless throughout their lives. And you guys remember in one of my lives, my previous lives, where I told you guys that usually you're actually chasing a feeling, okay? Oh, and the other thing that I've been thinking about recently too is most people are just trying to get some sort of need met, okay? So that's what everything is, okay? People are trying to get some sort of need met. And that's how people come into like some sort of union with each other, right? It's like two people that are getting different types, or maybe it's the same type of need between, you know, each other that they're getting met, or it's two different types of needs. And that's the struggle too. For example, with narcissists, if you're unaware, they'll hook into the need, okay? But sometimes I talk about it as like the wound or whatever too. But yes, that's the other thing I've been thinking about recently is like most dynamics are like people, or most things, okay, that people are doing, they're trying to meet some sort of need. So you guys are gonna have to explore and be like, what is the need, okay? So that's something to think about. The other thing is, okay, it's like you want to see what is the feeling that you're chasing, okay, in a situation, right? So for example, with people who are chasing power, they're people who are powerless or have felt powerless, okay? So then it's like, why did you feel powerless? And then you have to explore that. And if you get to the root of that, you will erase that desire, okay? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Hey, from New Zealand, how's it going? What's the time there? What is the time over there? Yes. Oh, good. I'm glad that that resonated. You said, how do you protect yourself from obsessive energy? You get too many people hooked on you. You're a Libra stellium and you're a Scorpio stellium. Is it astrological? It could be. When you have Scorpio, yes, people are always going to be obsessed with you, or obsessive about you, or possessive about you. So it's interesting because it's like, remember how like we're all energy, right? So it's like sometimes they're actually hooking into your field. So sometimes you could be the obsessive one, but it's like maybe you're not aware of it, or maybe like, okay, so sometimes you could be obsessive and people could hook, like by merging to your field because you're obsessive in your energy, they become obsessed with you because it's like they're hooking into your energy. Does that make sense? So it could be that. Maybe you've cleared that and it's just in your energetic field where they're obsessed with you. So yes, you're just gonna have to be careful, okay? Because obsessive people are dangerous. They're very, very dangerous because it's like they like want to be you, right? And they might end up, obviously, okay, I'm not going to say that because I don't want to speak that into existence for anybody. But yeah, just pay attention, okay? If people are obsessive, they're usually dangerous, okay? Because like, why are they obsessed? Like, because it's interesting because it's like part of them like puts you on this pedestal, right? But then it's like part of them wants to be you, and then they also resent you because they're not you. So it's like, it's just like a recipe for disaster, okay? It's like a power imbalance. And it's like, if you're in that dynamic, you guys aren't on the same level. It's not even anything you're doing. It's just like how they see you, right? So if they see you in this way, it's never going to result in anything good because automatically they see you, okay, as above them, okay? And it's like, if they see you as above them, there's a power imbalance. And because the power imbalance is there, it's like, again, you know, they might, you know, want to take from you. They might want to be you. They'll be jealous of you. They, you know, people talk about the destiny swapping, which is real. Okay. It's real, but you still have to be aware of why you let those people into your life. Right. So going back to like the needs and so on and so forth that I was mentioning earlier, you have to explore and be like, why did you allow this person into your life? I'm not saying you did. This is for anybody who's tuning into this. Okay. Why did you allow them into your life to get to that point? Okay. What is it within you that like, is it that you're a people pleaser? Is it that you can't say no? Is it that you're lonely? Like, what is it, right? Like, what is the reason that this person is within your vicinity, okay? So keep that in mind. But yeah, so anytime anyone's obsessed with you, it's like automatically you guys have to see it as there's a power imbalance here, okay? And it's never gonna work, okay? It's not gonna work long term. It's not gonna work as a friendship. It won't ever work, okay? Because they see you as above them, okay? And because they see you as above them at the same time, it's like, yeah, they might worship you for a period of time, be obsessed with you, but they also wanna be you, okay? And then it could go into the extreme shadow where they wanna destruct you, okay? Or pull you down to their level. And yeah, so keep an eye out for that type of energy out there, okay? You said, as a 12th houser, have you had the experience of not knowing what to choose or not having the thought to choose, as in you struggle to assert the ego in terms of choosing a direction. Yeah, that's what I talk about the 12th house a lot, because a lot of it is actually based on my own experience as a 12th house individual. That's pretty much everything I talk about is things that I've either experienced or thought about, okay, is really what it is. So in general, it's like when you're a 12 houser, especially when you're younger, okay, and this is why I talk about developing the solar plexus, okay, you have to take the time to learn yourself. What are your likes, wants, needs, and desires? What are your own wounds? What are your triggers? Like all these things, right? Because then you'll know who you are. And that's what's so interesting, because I find it interesting that like relationships are pushed on people, especially when they're young, and it's like, you know, you don't even know who you are, right? So you're already merging to another person when you don't even know who you are. And that's why a lot of people get like lost in the sauce, okay? So that's the main like advice I have for the 12 houser is like learn who you are first, because then you'll be able to pick up on, okay, this is the other person's energy. This is, you know, their feelings. This is their projections. And it happens so subtly, you guys, sometimes so subtly you start feeding into maybe that person's dream about you, or like what they want for you, or their fantasy of you. And you might play that out, okay? So it's a struggle. So it's like almost like constant spiritual warfare, I guess, in one way, shape, or form. But yeah. Okay, so that's really what it is. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. Oh yeah, so to answer your question earlier, as parents, that you can't turn off being magnetic as a Scorpio, okay? You can just protect your energy, and you have to have strong boundaries, okay? You have to have strong boundaries. You have to know yourself. You can do those things that I mentioned, like the invisibility cloak, you know, trying to dodge the energy sometimes too, not getting overly involved, like having the awareness, right, of these people, because you're going to attract a lot of people, okay, or they'll be attracted to you. It's not really anything you're doing. It's just like Scorpio has a lot of healing potential. So because you have a lot of healing potential, you also might attract a lot of dark people, okay? Or they might be attracted to you. I try to stay away from the term that you're attracting. You're not really doing anything. It's just your energy, right? You know, these people can be sucked into your vortex, and then it's like, now you're purging for these people, and it's like, why? Are they paying you? Like, hey, Mary, how are you doing? What is new? You said when you are fully authentic while being aware of the conditioning of the stars, you won't need astrology. Exactly. You won't need anything. You won't need anything anymore. You said when you are grown strong enough, you can carry the aura to fight those WARs and to be able to take them, hey, because you do so well. Yeah, exactly. Oh, hey, Concern. You said your SP. So what's SP? Is that special person? Or soul partner or solar plexus? You said is a Capricorn, sun and ascendant and moon and Mars in Scorpio. Okay, hold on. So Capricorn, sun and ascendant and moon. So that's all Capricorn, and then Mars in Scorpio. You said you are in no contact 3 weeks now because he can't give you what you need. But it's crazy because he was your day one. He was from day one wildly in love. Normal Scorpio. Here's the thing. Look at it this way. He can't give you what you need. Exit the situation. That's the answer. There's nothing else. Don't waste any more time about it, okay? This is the thing. Like, this is what I mean by, like, people need to come into their power, okay? And some people in this world need to have more pride, okay? So some people need to have more pride. Like, okay, you guys need to, some of you guys, like, some people have too much pride, but some people need to have more pride, okay, in situations. If this person can't give you what you want, it's simple as that. There's nothing else, right? Like, there's no need to think about it. You're wasting your mental and emotional energy, okay, on this person. And keep in mind, you guys, the more you think about something, you're creating emotional energy, okay? You said, would I talk about the times when I think astrology when we need it and why? Yes, okay, so, okay, you guys have to understand this. Okay, now I'm going to go on this tangent, okay, my usual. This earth plane at this point in time, okay, at this point in time, we are operating under the energetic structure, okay? There's some sort of energetic structure around the earth plane. My belief and opinion, this is my opinion, okay? So this is just, again, based on my experience and thinking and coming to this conclusion, okay? So you guys can take it as it resonates, leave it behind what does not, okay? So I think there's an energetic structure, yes, okay? Because we're restricted energetically down here. And I believe that this is connected to Saturn, okay? So there's a Saturnian grid, and I have so many videos where I talk about this and I go off, okay? Because I came to this conclusion when I was able to figure out someone's rising sign, and I don't do this professionally. This was just me thinking in my head. But yeah, I was able to figure out someone's rising sign based on their Saturn events. And then I was like, hold on a second. I'm like, so you're always in a Saturn transit. And then I was like, why is everyone so obsessed with the Saturn return? I talk about this. I go off about this on my threads too, you guys. Check out my threads, okay? BARBARAJSC. It's privated right now, okay? So you have to request to get in, okay? but I have been accepting people. So yes, okay, so that's my threads, and I talk about it on there, and you'll see the whole timeline of how I came to this conclusion, okay? So I came to this conclusion that we are operated by Saturn down here, and this is, you know, Saturnian grid, and Saturn is actually Satan, and all of these dark groups worship Satan because they're actually worshiping Saturn, okay? Which is operating everything. Saturn operates karma, Saturn operates time, the shadow patriarchy, Saturn operates the reincarnation loop, okay? That's all Saturn, okay? So something happens, okay, because people are unaware of this. When people are trying to cross out of this earth plane, they like bounce. So they like hit it and then they get looped back into reincarnating again. That's Saturn, right? So you have to figure out how to exit this, okay? So that being said, at this point in time, yes, we have astrology. You need to learn it to break free from it, okay? This is the whole thing to understand. You have to learn it, but you don't want to feed into it, okay? Because by people feeding into it, you're feeding into the structure, okay? So everyone has to learn it. They have to have it brought to their awareness so we can break it down, okay? So that's what's going to happen eventually at some point in the future. I'm not sure. The only thing I'm not sure about is I'm not sure if it's going to like be after people exit the earth realm, okay? So that's the only thing I'm unsure about at this point in time. I'm not sure if we are meant to break it down all together while we are down here on this earth plane together, or because sometimes I meet people and I'm like, you're such a lost cause and like you're so far behind. So sometimes I think in my head and I'm like, those people stay behind because they have to play out like whatever they're playing out, right? So they might like, stay behind, but then the other people have to figure out how to not reincarnate again, and they go into another realm altogether, okay? So the way that I see it too, and I talk about this on my threads as well, okay? Do any of you guys know the movie Jumanji, okay? The movie Jumanji, and they always show you everything, okay? But you have to like think about it, okay? So in the movie Jumanji, which is so wild, okay, I'm gonna have to do a video on Robin Williams because see, his energy keeps coming through all day today, okay? I mentioned him earlier in this live too, but anyways. Check out my second channel called Barbara Talks Some More, and I'm obviously not gonna promise when I'm gonna do that, but his energy's coming through, so I might just do a reading on him. But anyway, so the movie Jumanji, okay? The movie Jumanji, literally, they tell you that once you enter the game, you don't get to exit until you finish the game, okay? So what does that tell you, okay? This is a game. We have entered it, okay? It's like a board. Your astrological, you know, structure is going to tell you how to navigate the game, but you have to figure out how to exit it, okay? So yes, that's my story about all of that. So yes, there might be a time, but the only thing I'm unsure about is it going to be while we're all down here on this earth realm, or is it only when you exit this realm completely and this realm stays this way for the other people and the other consciousness levels? That I'm not sure about, okay? He was, Lisa. He was. I was just thinking about that today too. I was like, he definitely didn't take himself out. And then I went to go look at his chart and I was like, oh my goodness, he has all water. Like sun, moon, rising was all water. He was a Scorpio rising. I was looking at it just this morning, but now I don't remember if he was, I think he might have been a Cancer, Sun, Pisces, Moon, but it was all water. It was all water. I'm trying to think now because he had, I think he had Mars in Cancer, and I think he had Uranus in Cancer too. So his Mars and Uranus were conjunct. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then he also, I think, had Mars square Neptune. So yes, stay tuned if I do that. But yeah, I've been hooking into his energy since this morning. So yeah. You said you guess everyone leaves when they have no more karma. Not a lot of people will do it, but that's the other thing too. Okay, so I have some videos on here too. Okay, you guys, also I have a metaphysical playlist, okay? So I have videos where I talk about karma, okay? Because the thing is, the whole game is you need to clear the karma, but you also have to not accumulate more. So this is why, again, two truths and a lie, right? So religions, all of these things, the philosophies, like all of these religions still have some truth to them, even though there's lies mixed in there, okay? So with that being said, you know, when they tell you to be a good person and, you know, don't harm thy neighbor and all of these things, that's true, right? Because that's like their way of trying to explain like not to build more karma, okay? So it's this. So it's like, that's the trick, okay? Or like the tricky part, I guess you can say. It's like you want to clear whatever you need to clear, but you don't want to accumulate more, okay? Is really what it is, because then you have to like basically have a clear heart. Basically the way that it is, okay, the only way I can explain this is like, you have to look at it this way. When you're exiting this realm, you have to have no cords pulling you back down, okay? So this can be something as simple as you were really mad at somebody about something and you didn't, you know, forgive them, okay? It has nothing to do with the person, but it's like if you still hold on to that, you're reincarnating again, okay? You're gonna play that story out again, okay? Or maybe you wanted to have a conversation with the person about something, okay? Or you didn't feel like you were understood in a situation. You need to clarify all these things, okay? If you can't directly clarify with the person, you have to rectify the energy within itself, right? So you can't have any cords pulling you down, okay? is really what it is. So that's the way that I see it. As long as there's some sort of cord between you and a person, and it's within the self, because sometimes the other person, like, you know, they might not forgive you, okay? Or maybe you can't have a conversation with them, or they're not going to change. It's not like that. It's like within the self, you have to have like a clear heart is really what it is, or like a clear energy energetically, where you've like rectified the energy within the self. You're like, okay, I did this. I didn't know any better. Okay, it's done. Okay, but if you're still thinking about it, you feel some type of way, you feel guilty, you feel mad at that person, like all the lower chakra things, you're reincarnating again. Okay. Or if you have desires, that's the other part of the story. If you have desires, you're like, oh, I wish I did that thing. That's when you need to do everything that you want to do, or like try it at least, right? To clear it up. Because a lot of the time, you guys, we romanticize, right? So we romanticize things in our mind where we're like, oh my God, when I have that, it's going to be so awesome. Okay. So try it, do it, you know, try it and see what is it like. Is it actually what you thought it was going to be, right? So that's the thing, because when you're crossing out, you have to clear all of these things, the desires, you know, the connections to the other people, all of these things. So you exit, okay? Is really what it is. If there's any sort of like negative feeling, negative emotion, any sort of emotion, or like, oh, I wish, you know, some people are like, oh, I wish I could have been with that person. You come reincarnating again. Okay. You're getting looped back in. Okay. So you guys have to figure out all of these things, like sit down and like explore within the self. Okay. To like unbind yourself. Okay. And then I talk about it more. Let's see. You said he was a highly evolved being. What dreams may come unreal film? You're talking about Robin Williams, right? Yeah, he was so precious. So the video that I saw of him today, oh my God, it was so cute. He was like trying to make like a gorilla laugh or something. It was like such a precious video. But yeah, it like randomly popped up in my feed, and now I'm like hooked into his energy. So I'm like, oh my gosh, precious, precious man. You said you think if you die at a low vibration, you can't get back into the higher realm, so you have to come back. The best way to clear karma is to stop perpetuating the behaviors. That exactly. Melissa, you just get it. Okay? So it's exactly this. That's exactly what it is. You have to just like stop. So sometimes you just have to stop engaging with that energy, because it's like sometimes like a loop is create like a energy vortex loop, whatever you guys want to like, however you guys want to see it, is like created in a situation, right? So it's like, that's why sometimes you need to move, right? Or you need to like switch over the energy, because sometimes you create a type of, let's say, routine. And by doing this routine, you create like an energy pattern or loop in that place, right? So no matter what you do, let's say you're still living in the same house or whatever, right? Apartment or wherever it is, you're going to play out that energy unless you intentionally like break it up, right? Within the self. So sometimes you have to figure out how can you break up that energy, or like the energy pattern or the energy loop. And sometimes all you have to do is be like, I'm not engaging with that anymore, right? But you have to have the awareness that you're even doing it to begin with, right? You said don't have kids then if you don't want karma, because having a child is karma, good or bad. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, okay, so here's the thing. Sometimes people have kids because there is actually like a karmic thing with the kid that they need to clear, right? Does that make sense? So it's like sometimes it's part of their life purpose to have the child, because there's something there that needs to be resolved. That's part of the story. Sometimes the way that I see it is like, if you heal your own inner child, because I feel like most people are healing their inner child through their children, okay? Is really what it is, whether they're aware of it or not, because they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to give my kid things I never had, or I'm going to raise them differently than my parents did, or whatever. Like, that's how people, whether they're aware of it or not, like that's kind of what's happening. So it could be this. So it's like with having a kid, it's like, it's just the cord that's connecting you back to this earth realm. Like that's the only thing here. It doesn't matter whether it's good karma, bad karma, like whatever's going on with the kid, because it's like, even again, for some people, it's part of their path to have the child, right? This is what I mean. So it's hard to say like, having a kid means this or it doesn't mean this. What I'm saying is like, if you do have the kid, it's just another person that's courting you back to the earth realm, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to say. So even like if you have the kid and you want to exit, you still have to figure out how to have just like the clear energy between the two people. I think that that's really what it comes down to, is having like the clear energy, right? For some people, you know, the way they see it, I guess you can even look at this maybe in some sort of like, again, metaphysical or religious beliefs. When it comes to kids, it's like, you know, they just don't want to create another cord, is really what it is with another person. But if you have the kid, as long as it's like the energy's clear between the two people, I think it'll be fine too. That's the way that I see it. I hope that makes sense. You said... You said curious on my thoughts on feeling like floating as a child. You experienced this as a kid where you were running on the beach in the nighttime. You couldn't feel your legs. You felt ecstatic and not scared. Yeah, so you weren't in your body. So I'm curious to know, did you have like severe trauma as a child where you learned how to go in and out of body? Because you're out of body basically is what it is, but also you're psychic. So there's that. You said you don't have enough words on YouTube comments to explain yourself. You don't realize your comments don't make sense. I understood what you were saying. You said a hot take, taking the right karma for the next life feels like a pleasant thought for you, but surely there is a good side. Is that what you're trying to say? And detaching from the cycle have had split moments of those. Let's see. What else are you guys saying in here? Okay, yeah, so you guys are saying he has midheaven in Leo. So that means, yeah, Scorpio rising. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Scorpio rising, 4th house in Aquarius, midheaven in Leo. There you go. There you go. You said you want to hear my thoughts. Okay, you mentioned that earlier. You said, do people want to know when they'll cross out? Maybe some people do. I think people who are in those groups know, or at least they try to cross, or like they try to control it, okay? The people who are in those groups, allegedly, in my opinion. You said Pluto and Saturn, first houser, currently and natally both. What on earth does this mean for your life? You have Pluto and Saturn. That's interesting because you're going to be intimidating, okay? But you're also kind of like a boss, okay? So basically meant to be a hustler with this energy, okay? I'm just reading the rest of your comments. Let's see. I'm just going back up to see what else you guys are saying up here. Thoughts on Saturn square the Sun and Saturn conjunct Venus in synastry. Long relationships, but it could also be mimicking like parental patterns, which most relationships are if you think about it, okay? 18 years is 12 plus 6. Suddenly you're 19 and do want to know what you become for other people in the world and saying how astrology works. I'm just going back up to see what you guys were saying up here. Let's see. Let me go way back to the top and see some questions I may have missed. When I say 12th house person, okay, one of you guys were asking when I say 12th house person, what does it mean? To me, a 12th houser is any placements in the 12th house, to be honest. It kind of takes over the chart, you guys, I find, okay? But the more that you have, the more of a 12th house person you are, right? 2, 3, 4, whatever, okay? But honestly, like, again, me being clairsentient, I feel the 12th house in a person, even if it's one placement, even if it's like Neptune in the 12th, Uranus in the 12th, Pluto in the 12th, like if it's a one placement, you're automatically going into the unconscious, right? So it's taking you out of body. It overpowers the chart, I find. 12th house and Scorpio energy. I mean, Cancer can too. I can feel Cancer in a person as well. I met someone recently too. I knew they had Taurus in their chart. It was so interesting because they were like talking about like, you know, just like wanting nice things and, you know, like not wanting to like save on certain things, right? I'm kind of speaking between the lines here, but I was like, you have Taurus somewhere in your chart. And of course, I think they had like 2, 3 placements in Taurus. I think it was like Venus and Mars, like maybe or something like that. So I was like, of course, I saw that Taurus energy in there. Let's see, what else were you guys saying up here? One second, you guys. Okay, I am back. Okay, I am back. I don't do Vedic astrology. You said, can I talk about the 9th house stellium with a Cancer South node and 8th house? You always feel like you're trying to find spiritual balance. Yeah, that energy in the 9th house is always looking for the purpose in life. Their purpose in life. What's my purpose? What am I here to do? That's the 9th house. What's my purpose? Like that's as soon as you come out of the womb. What is my purpose? What's the purpose? That's the 9th house or Sag energy. Yes, Esperanza, you're meant to be a boss. Manager. Hey, Marcia, how are you doing? You said, have I ever done a natal chart for the United States? No, I haven't, but I think they're a Cancer, right? You said you have Neptune and they're going through their, hold on, Pluto return? You said you have Neptune in the 12th. Your boyfriend has Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto in the 12th. In his own natal chart or in the synastry? North Node conjunct Venus in Libra. So part of your life purpose deals with people, okay? Deals with like community, creating community. It could also deal with law. It could also deal with fashion, beauty, like anything Libra-esque. You know, communicating, okay? Talking, communicating with people, connecting, okay? So that's that. North Node conjunct Venus. It could be like, you know, part of your life purpose deals with the people that you meet. They help elevate you, okay, into your life purpose. It could deal with contracts. Maybe, you know, you're a marriage counselor or, you know, like a divorce lawyer or, you know, the people who do the papers for people when they get, you know, married or whatever, okay? Prenup papers, all these things, okay? Your Cancer, Sun, Mercury, midheaven, and fortune. Oh, that's intense. You probably could have been an orphan maybe in a past life with that Cancer energy in there. Yeah, Cancer is all about learning how to have a family in this lifetime. I find when people have Cancer in their chart, it's like it could be one of their potentially like first lifetimes in a while where they're learning about family. So like family's gonna be really, really important to you. Like maybe you were like an orphan, maybe you were nomadic, maybe you ran away. Like it could be so many different things, but yes. I'm just at the top here, just reading what you guys were saying earlier. You said Pluto and Chiron in the third house in Sag, feeling powerless in school, maybe because you were a different religion. Let me know if that resonates. You said and when I say school, it's like elementary school, okay? So that's like the wound you carry is around friends and not fitting in. You said, and feeling powerless because of it. You said, can any interrelation be made between having 8th house stellium and a Scorpio midheaven? Interrelation between these two. I mean, it's different energies. Okay, this is what you guys need to understand, okay? So the sign, okay, so you have the placement, right? You know, sun, moon, whatever, right? So the placement is what the energy is, okay? So that's the placement. What the energy is. The sign is how the energy is being expressed, okay? And then the house is the area of life where the energy is being expressed, okay? So that's how you guys can differentiate. So it's similar, right? The sign and the house, but it's not, okay? It's different at the same time, okay? Similar, yes, but it's different. It's like what the energy is doing, right? So you have, once again, okay, so the placement, sun, moon, rising, whatever, okay? That's going to be what the energy is, okay? Actually not rising, okay? So sun, moon, Mercury, whatever, right? So whatever the placement is, that's what the energy is, okay? Then you have the sign, which is how the energy is being expressed, okay? And then the house is where, okay? The area of life where the energy is being expressed in, okay? So that's the difference between the sun or between the placement, between the sign, and between the house, okay? So that's how you guys can differentiate. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? Yeah, one of you guys way earlier when we were talking about all this stuff, you said, don't feed into what drowns you. Yes, 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 yes. You said, your sun in Pisces, moon in Aquarius, Libra rising, nice. And you said, with the stellium in the 4th house, you're aware that you're extremely watery and clairsentient. You spend minimal time with the collective because of it. Yeah, because it's overwhelming. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. But here's the struggle, okay? So here is the struggle, because it's like, okay, when you have water in your chart, it's like, yes, it's overwhelming, but at the same time, you have a healing energy. So it's like a chicken and the egg, or like a counterintuitive type of situation, because it's like you get overwhelmed, but you're actually meant to also be out there. So you have to like figure out a balance between being in your own energy and going out there into the battlefield. Does that make sense? Okay. And if you're getting drained, there's some sort of leak or like tear in your aura that's like overflowing, right? Maybe because you're Cancer, maybe you become overly nurturing to people and then you don't receive that in return and then you get drained, right? So it's like, it's a matter of figuring out this balance, because the water energy is still needed out there to assist people, right? In one way, shape, or form, as long as, again, you're not being drained. So you have to like figure out the happy medium, or like the balance between being on your own, yes, but also being out there, right? In the battlefield. That's the way that I see it. It's a battlefield out there in the streets, you guys. You said 12th house runs in your family. You looked it up. Your siblings and kids and nephews are also Leo moons, and you're also the first Aquarius moon. Okay, so you're the one that's like breaking the pattern in your family until you had kids, and now some of your kids do too. Yeah, so basically, like, I've noticed that too. 12th house also, like, you'll see patterns within families, because my theory at least is a lot of the time these people incarnate together, okay? I obviously can't prove that, but that's just something that I've been thinking about with families and family dynamics and units. You like inherit the energies, right? You have one side of the family that could be like dominance in this, and the other one that could be dominance in this, and then you inherit that energy. You'll see that a lot of the time. I was actually thinking about that. Okay, this is what I was thinking about. I was actually looking at, okay, so I was looking at Kanye's chart, and then I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, North is so similar to him. I'm like, what's going on in North's chart that's like similar to Kanye's chart? And they actually have like something in common energetically in their charts. And I can't remember what it was. I know Kanye has Sun conjunct Jupiter, so I'm trying to remember if North has Sun conjunct Jupiter as well. They might both be Geminis too, but there's something going on in their charts that's like, you know, basically similar. So I was like, okay. So anyways, a lot of the time families, like regardless of them, just like for everybody, like they kind of travel in groups together. So you'll see that, like, let's say you have a lot of 12th house energy, you guys have probably traveled together a lot. Okay. Yay, I'm glad that resonated. I'm doing well, thanks. I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. You said another random question. A week ago, you were watching something and out of nowhere, you heard a family member that passed away say your name over and over in your mind. Wow, not externally, but in your mind. Wow, yeah, so you're probably psychic. I think you had all the Cancer in your chart, right? There it is, family members. Let's see, I'm just going back to the top here to see what I may have missed. Oh, as far as I'm seeing your comment from earlier, you were saying you were doing a mani. Nice. What color are you doing? Exactly. Melissa said, like Jesus said, be like a little child. Little children are programmed, conditioned, and are curious and observers. Exactly. So that's what everybody wants to try to ultimately get into, is back into your inner child. Okay. And I don't mean that in like be immature. I just mean the purity of the soul, okay, before entering this devil realm, okay, and all the darkness and this trauma-based realm, okay. So that's the best way to win at anything, okay? Because this dark realm does not want to see anybody happy. They just want to see people suffering. They want to see you upset. Like, they feed off of that energy, right? So if you're doing what you love, like, find something that you guys like to do, you know what I mean? And do that thing, okay? Or, you know, be around people more, okay, that are on your same vibe, okay? Or whatever, like whatever you guys need to do, okay, is really what it is to get back into this, you know, inner childlike energy, right? This purity. It's like the purity of the soul, okay? It's not so much like, again, being immature and like having temper tantrums and like all those types of things, okay? Not in that way. It's like the metaphor of it, right? So you want to get back into the purity of the soul is really what it is. And then, fun fact, you actually look younger then, okay? So you don't even have to do anything to, you know, magic and all these things, right? It's because the soul comes out of the, like, on the physical appearance is really what it is, okay? You said that's exactly what happened to you. A shaman introduced you to the cosmic serpent. You have never touched DMT since because you don't need to, exactly. And then you met light beings on an operating table and they told you not to come back. It's not, they told you not to come back. It's not your time. Or they told you to come back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys, like, if you're unsure, it's just like the Ouija board, right? When it comes to plant medicine or psychedelics or whatever, like, if you are unsure, just don't do it, okay? Because you leave your body and then you have to deal with the repercussions after. And like, even when people do any sort of psychedelic, they still have to go through the integration phase, okay? And most people aren't equipped to like deal with the not like deal with the integration. Like, there aren't people who are there to assist you. That's what I'm looking for with the integration phase that takes place, right? It like opens up your consciousness like almost prematurely, right? Ultimately, you want to gradually get there. Like, everything needs to be like a gradual process, right? But it's just the way the society is. Everybody wants everything fast. They want a quick fix. They want a quick solution. They want a band-aid solution. And that's just not really going to do anything because the issue is always going to come up to the surface, okay? And then you meet these people, then they go into their spiritual ego. They're gonna be like, oh, how many ceremonies did you do? And they're like living in the forest and like all these things, which like I guess is fine, but it's like, what's the intention here? It's always my question, like, why are you doing what you're doing? Is always my question, because that's another form of escapism, in my own opinion, allegedly. Like, I honestly, guys, like, sometimes I feel like I've been part of so many different types of like social groups. So sometimes I just feel like I'm doing like a research, like market research or like a research project, because I have encountered so many different types of people throughout my life. So yes, I have been around those like extreme hippie types of people. I just found them to be very energetically stagnant. Like, they're not doing anything. They just like chill all day. Like, they have no ambitions in life. Like, I don't know. I guess it works for them, but like, just recently I met someone, and this is the other thing too, and this is the other issue within the spiritual community too. They're going to be like, money is this, I don't like money. But it's like, at the end of the day, we still live in a system where you need money. Like, hello, you know what I mean? So you can't just bypass that. I find a lot of those people who are in those communities are either like trust fund kids, or they come from wealthy families where they don't have to work or something of that sort. So they're just like chilling. Like, that's my theory. So they can be the ones that are like, oh, money is not important and all of these things. But it's like, we still live in a material plane. Like, that's the thing. They're very like energetically fragmented, you know? But it is what it is. Everyone's on their own journey. Oh, nice. Nice. That's Brian's and nice nails. You said in the dark realm, If the dark realm wants us to be unhappy and miserable, you would say that we are doing a pretty good job. Hold on. You said if the dark realm wants us to be unhappy and miserable, then you would say you're doing a pretty good job of complying. Yes, you don't want to comply, right? Because that's what they want. They want you to be upset and angry and frustrated and arguing and mad and this and that. So when you tune out of that and you just listen to yourself and do your own thing, that like actually energetically frustrates them. And that's personally how I feel like eventually like that's like the unplugging, right? It's like doing your own thing, doing what makes you happy, and like in the end, like whatever happens, right? That's all you can do at the end of the day. I mean, that's my philosophy at this point in time, is really what it is. You said moon in Aries, first house intercepted, and lots of seventh house energy and Scorpio energies. That makes sense, concern. Is this your chart? Because you're literally meant to master relationships in this lifetime. You said, could this be someone who was a warrior or murderous in a past life and now tasked with a life purpose of relations? Are interesting. That's an interesting way of looking at it. I have heard that for Mars and Scorpio, that they could have like taken people out in a past life. I find that Scorpio energy more than anything, like you can, if you want to look at like their karma, I feel like they abused their spiritual gifts in a previous lifetime. That's the way that I see it. Or they like used occult knowledge for darkness. That's one of my theories for Scorpio energy in a natal chart. And that's why they have like dark energy connected to them, because of opening up all of these like energetic portals. And like, that's why they also have occult knowledge. Like, that's one of my theories. I mean, that's just my theory, right? So I can't confirm that, but yes. You said you're a 12th house and you can't drink. Yeah, I don't drink alcohol either. I don't do anything really. I used to when I was younger. I mean, I had my fun, so you know, you guys do what you want to do. I mean, I had such a good time, you know, going out, you know, dancing and all the things. But yeah, I don't drink. I stopped drinking, and see, I can't even remember that anymore. I'm like, was it 2017 or was it 2018? I know it was New Year's. I think it was New Year's of 2018. I think it was officially 2018. So when I officially stopped drinking alcohol. But yeah, so that's when I stopped drinking alcohol. And what else? I'm a vegetarian. So also around that same time, I think maybe 2017 was when I started or stopped eating meat. It was like at the end of the year. So like September, October. So I'm trying to think. Because I stopped eating meat first and then I stopped drinking alcohol. But like, it wasn't like, it just happened on its own. Do you know what I mean? I just found that like alcohol was like making me too sleepy, and like also like I was the type of person where it was like I couldn't have one drink. Like it was like, okay, nothing, or like we're having fun. You know what I mean? Like there was like no in between, right? So but yeah, so you know, the thing is for me, like when I'm in a phase, I'm in that phase 150%, and then when I'm done, I'm done. So yeah. It was fun. Hey Clarice, yay, I'm glad that you caught the early live. How's it going? You said doing your own thing, as we have discussed many times, is very difficult for areas, moons with Scorpio dominance and Pluto. Yes, you said your chart. You said, can you predict pregnancy through transits? I mean, I can't because I don't do transit readings, or like I don't do predictive types of readings, but I'm sure you can find everything in a natal chart. It's all in there, you guys. And this is what I'm saying. It's like, is astrology something that is benevolent if everything can be found in the natal chart, okay? So yes, you can find everything in there. Like you'll have experienced people, and this is what I was saying earlier. Like I think those people who are in those like specific groups, like I think we have very limited astrology information, and some of it is just based off of I think like people's discoveries. But I think when people enter those like groups, okay, specific groups, allegedly my opinion, they get all the keys to this realm, and the keys to this realm is astrology, right? So it's interesting because that's also part of like the current breakdown of this matrix, is the fact that astrology is becoming more mainstream and more people are learning about it, right? Because people are figuring out the codes, right? Because this earth plane is coded energetically, okay? And it's so fascinating because I always liked math. Like my first degree was in math. So I was like, you know, the whole reason I picked that was because I didn't actually know what I wanted to do. And I didn't like reading. Like I didn't want to waste my time on that because again, I wanted to go party and have fun. I'm a Libra at the end of the day, you guys. So socialization was like my number one priority back then. And honestly, like to start university, like 18 years old is like way too young in my opinion. Like I think everything should be happening after your Saturn return. Like now that I'm older and I see like things differently, yes, everything should be after your Saturn return, but whatever, it is what it is. So anyways, you know, I just kind of picked that because I was like, yeah, this is the foundation of everything. And, you know, you can kind of go in any direction, but it's wild how like on some level I still knew, right? So the foundation of this realm is numbers, right? Patterns, astrology, math, and all the things. So that's just the realm. So you'll find everything in a natal chart. Oh yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. So within these groups that people enter, they get the keys, right? Like the full-blown keys. So my theory, allegedly my opinion, I think they all know when they're gonna cross out too. Okay, so or like sometimes there's multiple exit points, so I think they know those things. Sometimes they know how to avoid it, how to dodge it. Sometimes I think also they like orchestrate things to catch them on the astrals, to reincarnate them again, because a lot of them are just like constantly being recycled, so they don't actually exit the realm. Because if they exit the realm, then they're gonna actually have to deal with the karmic repercussions. So it's like a whole thing, okay? But yes, you can predict everything in a natal chart. Hey, Three Heavens Healing. Hey, I know, I'm happy to be live too. What's new, you guys? You said alcohol makes you feel sleepy and just of it. You said you've always hated it, but each to its own. Yeah, I went through my phase and then it just started making me feel sleepy, but I was also like super busy and I just had other priorities during that time. Like I was like, I can't go clubbing on the weekend and then have to recover for like all these days after, right? When I have all these other things that I want to do. So yeah, one thing just led to the next. So yeah, it is what it is. I mean, everyone has their phases in life. Let's see, what else are you guys saying? Yes, you guys are the OGs. Claris, Esperanza, Concerned. Shout out to you guys. You guys are awesome. What is new, you guys who are just joining? I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. Stellium in the 12th with Pluto, Moon, and Jupiter in a night chart. You said so is an ogo. Oh, you mean for the drinking? Yeah, actually, that's another theory that I had because I get so hyper in the nighttime. So I just like feel like your moon sign comes more alive in the nighttime. That's just like my theory. I can't confirm that, obviously. But yeah, it's like when the moon is out, it's like you're more in your moon sign. I don't know. That's just a random theory that I have. You said, hi, your Jupiter in the 12th house in Aquarius. Okay, so you are pretty advanced in terms of your own spiritual knowledge with all of that. And then also with Aquarius, you can make money through these things. So you can make an invention. You can make money through the spiritual world, tarot, metaphysics, the psychic world, film, theater, tech, math, all those things, okay? There is no topic. I'm just answering questions as usual and then talking about things that come up. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. I'm just going in order. You said, what's the difference in transiting Pluto over your moon and over your sun? It's really going to affect you emotionally when it goes over. Okay, so when it goes over your moon, okay, basically it's like all of the shadows, so all of the suppressed emotions are going to come to the surface and it's going to be like shadow work, like emotional shadow work season. The sun is like basically a breakdown of the identity, like you go through like a personality change, okay? So that's the idea. Because it's Pluto and it's a transit, it's over like an extended period of time, so you don't feel it in the moment as much. Like you'll feel it, but because it's Pluto, it's long, right? So it's like from the beginning to the end you'll see the transformation, but like day to day you might not see it. You know what I mean? You said truer words were never spoken. You feel sorry sometimes for younger people because oftentimes they're too anxious for their lives to move forward. You know that their lives will improve at Saturn return. Yeah, exactly. Everything, like I feel like you come into your person. Okay, so this is the way that I see it, okay? Look at it this way, you guys. And it's just like fascinating because a lot of psychology things, I'm not a psychologist, that's always my disclaimer, but like everything, like I feel like they derived a lot of things in psychology from astrology because astrology is like the most ancient thing, right? So anyways, so the prefrontal cortex develops, they say, around age 25, 26, okay? And then around then, you start slowly moving into your Saturn return, okay? So it's like, and the way that I see it also psychically, it's almost like your solar plexus lands, okay? So you come more into your person, you come more into your truth, you know? So one time, a long time ago, I've mentioned this so many times before too, but a long time ago, okay, when, you know, TikTok just came out, there was this person who made a video and they were basically saying that adolescence should be extended, okay? And I agree. But the thing is, what I'm going to add to that is adolescence, okay, should be extended until your Saturn return, okay? So that whole time is soul searching, okay? Figuring out who you are, what do you want to do, you know, who are you really? And it's just so unfortunate because so many people get energetically bound, okay, before their first Saturn return. And then they spend the rest of their lives, I also go off on this, okay, on my threads too. And they spend the rest of their lives trying to unbind themselves from the decisions they made prior to their first Saturn return, okay? Before the prefrontal cortex develops. That's why they try to push marriage, financially merging with people. They try to, you know, push all these things, have a kid early, okay? Because then you're bound, okay? And it might not even be your own decision. It could be a projection onto you. If anything, is a societal projection, right? So I just find it so interesting that like they celebrate youth and like, you know, it's fine. Like being young is fun, right? Like you're wilding out in a corner. You're not even thinking about anything. You can go skydiving and you know, your brain's not developed. So you're not thinking about the repercussions. And like, that's all fun for the phase that it is, right? But the thing is like after your brain develops, you see everything more clearly, okay? So again, you guys have the free will to do what you want, but my recommendation is any big decisions, you know, should be after your Saturn return, okay? The first one at least. When at least you have a better view of where it is that you're trying to go, okay? And then you're not bound, okay? And then trying to unbind yourself from these decisions and situations that were kind of projected onto you. That's what happens to a lot of people, okay? It happens prior to their first Saturn return. They get energetically bound, energetically siphoned in a situation, and they're trying to unbind themselves, okay, for the rest of their life. And then it's taking away from what they're trying to do down here on that soul level. So it's this. And yeah, so back to like the you thing, it's interesting because that's an inversion. Everything is inverted down here, right? So they prop these people up and they're going to be like, oh, look at this, you know, person who was a child star who was basically born into the industry and now is like successful at like age 20. When it's like, if you go based by astrology, it's like, it's going to be after your Saturn, first of all, return, but also after the age of 35 when Saturn matures, right? So it's really interesting that they push that because it's like, it's an inversion. You know what I mean? So it's this. You said your ex-husband and you are 8 years apart and you married him in your Saturn return and he left you in his. It was a learning experience. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. You said you would love to hear more about out of body, how to ground yourself. Okay, so Jody, check out my video, how to stay grounded as a 12th house person. Even if you're not a 12th house person, that video is probably going to resonate, okay? Because I give you guys some tips. Obviously, I don't know everything, right? But things that have assisted me and perhaps could assist you guys in helping ground back into your body if you are, let's say, someone who is psychic or out of body, okay? If you are out of body, you need to focus on grounding, okay? So you don't want to do things that are going to push you out of body more. So this is the theme, again, of today's chat. You want to try to stay away from substances. That could be alcohol, that could be psychedelics, drugs in general. That all pushes you out of body even more, and then you're trying to pull yourself back in, okay? So think about it this way. You're already out of body. You do any of these things, you go out of body more, okay? But you weren't in, okay? So it's like, because you're out, other things can come through, but you also have a hard time coming back in, okay? So it's this, and then also things like, let's say, too much caffeine where you're not sleeping, then you have anxiety because you haven't slept properly, because you're depending on caffeine for life force energy, and like things in moderation are fine. Do you know what I mean? Like everything in moderation is fine if you're able to work with that, right? So you can have a little bit of coffee, right? But if you're depending on it now for life force energy, it's like a frequency thing, right? If you're depending on it for life force energy, you are now not able to produce your own life force energy. So the question is, why are you not able to produce your own life force energy? Are you too tired? Are you burnt out? Why, this is like, these are questions that you need to ask yourself, right? So yeah, too much coffee also shoots you out of body, okay? Makes you hyperactive, it makes you anxious, and then you don't sleep properly, okay? Once again, I used to drink 3 coffees a day, large coffees. I love coffee and I loved coffee in the afternoon, okay? But I don't drink it anymore because I'm naturally very hyper. And then I noticed when I was giving up the coffee, which was so hard to give up, by the way, okay? By the way, you guys, if you are just tuning into the live or you're here, make sure you guys double tap the screen, obviously, if you so choose to like the video so we can meet more astrology friends. But yes, so yeah, so I was like doing the most, working all these things, all these jobs and all of this, right? So I was drinking a lot of coffee, right? And also like, I just like the taste of it, and yeah. But then I noticed when I was trying to wean myself off, it was really hard to wean myself off because it's like cloudy and then you have headaches and like all these things, like caffeine withdrawals are no joke, okay? Even recently, okay, I'll get to that after. Anyways, so when I was trying to wean myself off, okay, then I noticed that I was able to start dreaming again and I was going into a deeper sleep. So then I realized that I was actually really tired, okay, because I was never sleeping properly, right? So that's how I came to that conclusion. So that also shoots you out of body even more, okay? So keep that in mind. So it's like, if you can't produce your own life force energy, then you have to explore and be like, why can't I produce my own life force energy, okay? So that's that. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you guys too, just now when I mentioned, I was like, I'll get to that. Basically, I did like a cleanse, okay? And I honestly, I don't know how people do those cleanses, like the 9-day and so on and so forth. Like, bless them, okay? Because I'm like, you guys are like troopers. I wanted to do 3 days. I could barely do 1, okay? So I did the cleanse, and honestly, like, you have to drink all these things and whatever, the smoothie and like all these special ingredients and whatever, okay? But anyways, the hardest part for me within the cleanse, you guys, I literally drink like an espresso, like that much coffee in the morning. The hardest part of the cleanse for me was the fact that I was not able to have coffee. It was so interesting. I was like, even this little amount of coffee is still affecting me. But yeah, I did it for the 1 day and then I was like, yeah, forget this. I can't do this. So I was like, I'll just eat clean. But yeah, honestly, people who do those cleanses for like 9 days, I'm like, is this even healthy? Because like this cleanse that I was doing had like no protein in it. So I was like, what is even going on? But yeah, so that was a while ago now, like maybe last year. But yeah, so that's what you can do. So yeah, the coffee, and then what else? So yeah, substances, sleeping, trying to sleep, you know, properly or enough, okay, is also going to assist you. Obviously, you can't control sometimes, you know what I mean? Like some people can't sleep for whatever reason, but you know, trying to minimize your stress in your life so you can, okay, sleep enough at least, right? Or properly. That will also help you ground. And then things like exercise, connecting to the body, going to the gym, yoga, dance, all those things, okay? That will help you also ground back in, okay? And then what else? You know, doing things that you love, being around people that you love, like all those things. Check out that video. I give more things, like more examples in that video. You said it's good to detox once in a while. Yeah, exactly. That's what I did it, why I did it. And I also heard, okay, I also heard somebody, well, heard as in somebody told me. So I was talking to this person. This person was saying, now I can't remember if they do this once every 6 months or if they do this once a month, okay? But they do like just a water fast for that day, because apparently the water fast is meant to like reset your system. So I haven't tried that. But yeah, and I was thinking, and I was like, I feel like that would be challenging again, because I wouldn't be able to have that little bit of coffee that I have in the morning. But yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad that that resonated. Yeah, you said you smoke weed a lot. Yeah, the weed also is going to take you out of body. It's going to take you out of body. But I mean, the only way you'll know is when you don't do it and you see what it's like, and then you do it again. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the only time you'll be able to differentiate. You have to like do something, not do it, and then if you do it again to try, you'll be able to differentiate. Okay, so you'll have to do the exploration within the self. You said you've quit coffee multiple times. It is so difficult. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so I went from the 3 largest. I like I weaned myself off. Okay, I had the time to do that, and like I reset like my sleep schedule and everything. And I still had that little bit. And even that little bit, when I didn't have it in the morning, was missing. And I was like, what is happening? Like it's so little. Like it's literally like an espresso. But see? You said Neptune in the first makes you want to be dreamy all the time. I know, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to have those energies and be on this earth plane. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's an earth plane and now you're going against the earth's energies. Like these energies just want to hang out in the high vibes, which is like in their mind all day long, which is really nice up there. I mean, it's such a good time, but the earth plane is the earth plane. So that's the struggle. You said, what are my thoughts on Pluto 10th conjunct midheaven and Chiron conjunct midheaven? You said Pluto 10th conjunct midheaven and Chiron. So you go through some sort of, you could even go through some sort of public healing with that, okay? Public transformation with that energy. You have this placement, but you have no idea what direction you want to go in. Okay, so Pluto conjunct the midheaven, and then you have Chiron in there. So you go through some sort of healing. Maybe something that you do for work deals with healing. Maybe you go through healing and then you assist the public, okay? It could be this. But basically, you're transmuting energy for the public is really what it is with that Pluto energy in there, okay? That's basically what it is. Because it's the 10th house, you're transmuting. But first, you have to go through the transformation yourself, okay? Thank you. Thank you guys for being a part of this channel, for being a part of the live, for your likes, your shares, your subscribes. Thank you. You said you're in your crown chakra all the time. Trust me, I am up there with you. It's way more fun up there for sure. You said you have Gemini Sun, Pisces Moon, Libra Rising, Taurus, Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, Taurus, South Node. You don't know what to ask, but, and then you said, okay, was there anything else after that but? You said after 12 years after your Saturn return and you still don't know what you want to do. It's usually something that you keep going back to and it also comes naturally to you. It's really what it is. Oh my gosh, Eva, I saw that. I'm not going to say that person's name because that person's got, you know, some sort of, that person that you mentioned is like so out of body. Like they are not in their body at all. Okay. At all. When you like, not even like with the recent events with like all the tweets and all that, but like allegedly, my opinion, but like, they're like really not in their body. Like if you see their eye, it's like you'll see it in the eyes. Okay, when someone is not fully in their body and they're like there's an entity operating through them, like their eyes are like really open, or it's like they have this like blank stare. Like it's hard to explain. Like it's like the lights are on but nobody's home. Like and sometimes it can even be robotic almost. So I'm not sure what the entity is, but it's definitely something for sure. You said this eclipse season, curious about it. Yeah, it was intense. You said this weekend was rough. I'm trying to think. What happened this weekend? The eclipses were done though. Yeah, this eclipse season was definitely intense. Here's the thing though, because more people are aware of what's going on, they're feeding it more. So it's making it more intense, okay? Because the majority of the collective is in the shadows. Does that make sense? So this is why like a lot of spiritual knowledge used to be hidden, right? So yeah, exactly. Oh, her too, Lisa. Yeah, and honestly, like I think her man is in the closet for sure. Or maybe he's like publicly in the closet, but like behind the scenes. Maybe it's a lavender marriage. Everyone's talking about lavender marriage these days. Allegedly, in my opinion, but yeah. To me, it's very obvious that her man is not straight. So I'm like, what's going on here? Or maybe it's like a PR thing because her ex-man, like people wouldn't leave her alone about the ex-man. Like, that's my theory, which I don't understand why people would not leave her alone. I'm like, can you guys like let this go? Like, do you guys remember back in the day? Some of you guys maybe remember how like, you know, Jennifer A used to be with Brad P, okay? I'm trying not to say all their names, okay? Allegedly. So they used to be together and then he left her for like the Angelina J girl, and like all the tabloids, on the magazines all the time, they would not leave the poor woman alone. And they're like, Brad this, oh, Jen this, Jen that. Like, oh my goodness, they would not let her live that down. So I feel like the same thing is happening with that person that you mentioned in there, like with her and her, the triangle that she's in. So I think that that's why she kind of found that other guy who, again, I don't think he's fully straight, like in my opinion. I don't think he is. So I don't know if it's like a lavender situation. I don't know if it's like a PR relationship. I don't know if it's like a business relationship or whatever, where it's like, oh, like we don't have to live in the same house and you can go do what you want as long as like for the public we're like together, so everybody leaves her alone. Maybe. You were team Jen. Same, low-key I was too. There's something about her to me that was like endearing. I don't know if it's like because I love Friends. She like always had like, you know, there's something endearing to me about her. Like the other person kind of gives me different types of vibes for sure. You said, who are we talking about? Who's out of body? Oh, you're gonna have to scroll up to see who I was talking about. I don't want to say their name, but it's like a public figure. It's a singer. You said eclipses in the 9th house and you just got a house out of state. Wow, well there you go. T, hey T, how are you doing? What is new? What is the 411? Yeah, so probably who you guys were before the eclipse and who you guys are now is like a different person. Yeah, so that's probably what's going on. Yeah, the eclipses were intense, you guys. And okay, so that's what I was saying. Okay, so because the collective, okay, so this is why they used to hide a lot of spiritual knowledge back in the day, because the collective is filled with a lot of darkness within them, right? So because they're filled with darkness, as soon as they find something out, they put fear onto that thing, okay? So because they put fear onto that thing, they're amplifying the vibration. Do you know what I mean? So the people who are sensitive energetically, they feel that. So that's the struggle. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? You said definitely very different after the eclipses. A lot of things came to the surface. Yeah, everything's coming to the surface. Also, you guys, we're in a 9-year and we're like ending the 9-year, okay? And then we're gonna go into the 1 next year. So yeah. And like also, okay, so there's just like, there's so many things happening at the same time, okay? So what's actually happening energetically is the frequency of the planet is elevating, okay? So if you guys go outside and you don't listen to the news, and you like literally just go out and you're in your own bubble, you'll see how high the frequency is. Like even visually, it looks different, okay? So the frequency of the planet is raising, okay? So it's going up, it's going higher, okay? So that's one thing. Because the frequency is going higher and it's coming from the sun, okay? Allegedly, my opinion. So because it's coming from the sun, it's going to bring everybody's stuff to the surface. So if anyone has anything that's dark within them, if they're in their lower chakras, if they're hiding, if they're lying, if they're cheating, if they are hiding their personality, if they're living a double life, that's all going to come out. It's all going to come out. So you might as well not lie, okay? You might as well not try to do something shady. Like it'll come out like very quickly, okay? It's like we're getting into that time. So people need to integrate these shadows and all of these things, okay? So that's basically what it is. So that's what's happening out there in the world, like in terms of the frequencies. So because that's happening, you know, certain people who are operating the MATRIX are trying to pull people down into their lower chakras to continue playing out the story. So they're trying to speed things up, okay? In terms of like, oh, we're doing this now, what we're doing, like they're trying to speed up their like agendas and so on and so forth. But I don't really see it all panning out in the end. So, I mean, honestly, like I was traveling recently. And like, I don't drive, but I was in a vehicle and like, you know, I'm riding around and I'm like looking and I'm like, they're gonna try to make all of this land into a 15-minute city. I'm like, how is that gonna go down allegedly? So yeah, let's see how that, let's see, like, let's just be observers and see like what's actually gonna end up happening. Let's see. You said, what's the deal with the upcoming supermoon? Is that the one on October 7th? There's always something with the moon. Always something. You said definitely very different. You said your relationships seem to be changing. Seem to be changing these eclipses, or they seem to be changing with the eclipses. You said Scorpio Sag cusp. Where are you in terms of the Scorpio Sag cusp? Are you in Scorpio or are you in Sag? Yeah, exactly. You encourage anyone to stop looking at the news. Yeah, they're like updating things like every 5 seconds. I'm like, what is even happening now? Like 5 minutes ago, there's this, now there's this, now there's this thing, now there's that thing. They're always trying to talk about the end of the world. You guys, the world has been like trying to end, I swear, since the beginning of time. Like there's always some kind of end of the world coming. That was actually, fun fact, that was my first spiritual awakening, because you have multiple spiritual awakenings, you know what I mean? But the first one that I ever had was in 2012, when the world was supposed to end on December 21st, 2012. And me and my friends, obviously, like we're all fear-based, like everybody is, right? And like the early part of their life, we're all fear-based. We're like, oh my gosh, the world is gonna end. And like we all thought it was gonna end, okay? And then we woke up the next day and it wasn't done. And we were like, okay. And that was like the beginning for me of like the spiritual awakening. I'm like, what is this scam that I am living on down here on this airplane? So yeah, one thing led to the next and now I'm here. But yeah, that was the first one. So, I mean, these things have to happen for people to have their spiritual awakenings, you know? You said, why does Scorpio and Taurus have such an intense relationship, like karmic, dramatic? You know, okay, you know what's something that I've been thinking about? Okay, I've been thinking about this and I'm like, I feel like a lot of relationships, you know, when people say like certain people want a challenge in a relationship, I think it's like a lot of people like do in one shape or form. Like, how do I explain this? Like, it's almost like people are trying to always like break down the other person's ego, like whether they're aware of it or not. So it's kind of like, who is going to break down the other person's ego? So it's this. So it's like, you know, Scorpio and Taurus, it's like they're same but different, right? So it's like Scorpio is trying to be spiritual, Taurus is trying to be grounded, and you know, they kind of have some things in common because, you know, they want the money, they want the wealth. It's just like their method of going about these things is going to be different, right? So yes, it's this in terms of like the intensity, but really what it comes down to, like with this dynamic, is probably like both people trying to see who is able to either possess the other person first or break down the other person's ego first. Like, I've been thinking about that recently, how people are kind of like trying to do that without realizing in relationships. You said, I'm just going back up. You said, why do some fire signs ignore their intuition and lack discernment? They're too impulsive. I think that's the struggle with the fire signs. They're masculine and then they're action oriented. So they're like always starting things, right? And doing things. I mean, you know, it works down here on this airplane, but that could be part of the issue. It could be like, they could be impulsive. They could be reckless. Some of the fire signs. And it's this, but yeah, like it's fire, right? Like fire, like in terms of astrology, they're not intuitive because intuition is water, right? But that could maybe be part of the reason. It could be like the, you know, instant energy, trying to do things fast, being reckless, you know, impulsive, all these things. No discipline sometimes with some of the fire signs. Yeah, so it could be this, depending on what's going on in the rest of, depending with what's going on with the rest of the energies in the chart. You said, do I think blocking is bad or fearful? You block people when they want to disturb your spirit. No, you get pushback from others when you block. Oh, like blocking, like actually you're like blocking in your mind. Because when you said that, I was picturing like blocking in your mind. Because that's another thing. Okay, I was giving you guys some tips earlier. That's another thing that I do too. I energetically block people from coming into my energetic space. If I can sense any sort of nefarious energy, I like block them energetically. But are you talking about blocking on like Instagram or like online? I mean, whatever you need to do to protect your peace, right? It depends, right? If you're on a public platform, blocking someone isn't going to do much because they can just lurk you from another account. But if you're on private and you block them, you're just protecting your peace. You know what I mean? People have so many opinions. Like, why do you get pushback from others when you block people? Like, why do they care what you're doing? Like, this is like, why do people care what other people are doing? Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, just like let people do their own thing. Like, what is the pushback they're saying? I'm so curious to know. You said Cancer here, moon is rapidly changing like our moods. Yeah, exactly. Moon, there's always something going on with the moon. You said fire energy is very emotional, lack of earth in the chart. You said if a lack of earth is in the chart, grounded energy is hard to hold. Yeah. Someone came on the subway. It wasn't the subway, it was like the streetcar ones when I was on the streetcar. This person came on the streetcar. Now, they may have been on drugs, so I don't know. But they were like with a group of people, so they didn't seem like disheveled. But this person came on the streetcar, and this person was like bouncing with energy. Maybe they were on drugs. I don't know. I didn't get a drug vibe, but maybe. But they had so much energy. I was like, this person is definitely a triple Sagittarius in the first house. For sure. Sun, moon, rising, Sag, first house. Like the amount of energy, like, wow. Okay, so... energetically, you just do it in your mind. You literally, you guys, you just do it in your mind. Like, you just think it. That's it. I know, it's like, there's not anything, and that's why I was talking about the spells earlier. You don't have to do the most. You just think these things in your mind. Block, cut, energetically cut, you know, interfere. Can someone interfere energetically? Like, you just think it in your mind and it'll do it for you. That's it. You just think it in your mind. Like, that's how you do any of these things. You just block it and just think it, right? Block, like, from this person entering your vicinity, or like invisibility cloak, bubble, protection shields, all these things. Interfere, like interfere. When I say interfere, like I was giving the example earlier to some people where it's like, what I do sometimes is like, if I'm thinking and I'm like, okay, like just in case, you know, I'm pretty good in terms of like feeling into things, but sometimes I'm like, just in case, like if I'm not meant to go to this thing, or there's gonna be something shady, or there's gonna be a shady person there, like interfere energetically, you know. I say that to my angels, God, like whatever way, shape, form you guys want to look at it, like interfere energetically, put something in the path, a distraction, right, to interfere from you going to that place. Okay, obviously like a divine interference. Maybe it'll be easier if you guys do it that way, like make sure it's like a divine interference type of thing, right? Someone starts talking to you, someone calls you, someone asks you to do something else. Maybe, you know, it could be easier that way. But yeah, it's hard to explain because a lot of these things I just do in my mind. Okay, sometimes like when people say things, I block them energetically because sometimes they're like trying to put spells on you with like what they're saying. Okay, sometimes I verbally say it to them to like cut the energy, because the thing is, you guys, like a lot of the time, you know, it could be entities operating through people. Do you know what I mean? That's why sometimes people have a hard time in toxic relationships, because they see the divine version of that person, but the person also probably has an entity operating through them that is like creating the toxicity in the dynamic. And if that person is constantly allowing that entity to come into their body and they're not healing, there's nothing you can do, right? So that's why people struggle in those relationships, right? And also, of course, people talk about trauma bonds and all those things, okay? But with that being said, it's like, even with everyday people, the entities are going to come through them, because that's the only way. Like, people can't put spells on you if they don't know you, if they don't have some kind of cord connected to you, okay? They can't do these things. It's only people who are within your vicinity. You guys got to watch out for. Sometimes when you're talking to people, they can say something to you where they're trying to take your power away. And again, like, it's hard to explain because I feel it in my body. Like, when it's the intention that I feel. So if they're saying something shady, I feel it in my solar plexus because they're trying to take your power away from you, okay? For example. So then I like either say something back to them to counteract the energy, or I block it in my mind. I'm like, yeah, no, like that's not happening. Like, reflect. Oh, that's the other thing you guys can do. You guys can reflect. So you guys, it's literally like a game. You guys can do like a reflection shield too. So like whatever they're putting towards you bounces back toward them too. It's all in your mind. You just think it. That's it. You don't have to do the most. I know some people out there do spells. They do, I mean, I did them back in the day too, like that freezer spell where you like freeze someone's name in the fridge. I don't do any of that anymore. I just think it in my mind. Like, that's where I'm at now. I'm like, and it just like, maybe it's the placebo effect. I don't know. Maybe all of these things are the placebo effect. Who knows, right? But at this point in time, I just think it. That's it. The pushback is you shouldn't block. It shows that you're bothered by them and they should see you doing better than them. No, who cares? Like, why? Like, this is what I mean. Like, why do you need to prove to them that you're doing better than them? Like, that's my question. Like, why do you need to prove to them? Like, why do they need to see that you're doing better than them? That means you still care. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that shows that you care more versus the blocking. Blocking is like one and done. So it's this. Back in the day, I used to block everybody, guys. I have so many blocked phone numbers in my phone. You said, what does it mean if someone's moon is loosely conjunct your south node in the 7th house? Hold on, T, I think you have a lot of 8th house energy, right? If I'm remembering correctly. Anyways, what does it mean if someone's moon is loosely conjunct what do you mean loosely conjunct? Your south node in the 7th house. So past life connection, and it's connected to maybe home, maybe, you know, they were a parent for you in the previous lifetime or something of that sort. Maybe you're resolving emotional issues in this lifetime connected to a previous life. Yeah, it's like a way to get their validation. Exactly. Hey, everyone. Okay, yeah, you said you have 8th house stellium. Yes, I remember. And you have Moon square Pluto and Uranus. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you shut down toxic rhetoric so fast now. Yeah, like ain't nobody got time for that, you know? Hey, Striker, how are you doing? Nice. What time is it in Australia? I asked somebody earlier. I don't know if maybe they left alive. They were in New Zealand, or maybe I didn't catch what they said. He said everyone can feel when someone thinks of them, vice versa. I think everyone is very in tune. Exactly. That's what I was saying at the beginning of this live. You guys, like, we are all telepathic, okay? You guys need to understand that. Like, we're all telepathic. But here's the thing. You have to actually know the person, right? It's not like Bob that you never met is thinking about you and they don't know you. You know what I mean? Or, like, sometimes people go into, like, the extreme version where they think, like, a celebrity is thinking about them. I don't mean that, okay? It's not that. It's like people that you know, okay? People that are in your life, like you pick up on each other. There has to be a cord, okay? You guys have to understand this. There has to be a cord between you and that person. They have to be somehow in your vicinity, okay, for you to pick up on these things. Now, of course, you have people who dream about people before they meet them. There's that. But I'm talking about, you know, sometimes people go into the extreme kind of like delusion where they think a celebrity is thinking about them or talking to them. Actually, interestingly enough, this has actually been like, I've heard this quite a bit from like different like stories from different people, okay? So it's the same type of story or like thought that these people have where they think that someone is sending them a message in a song, or like that person is talking to them like through the song. That's something that I've heard like 2 or 3 times now. So I'm like, this is really interesting. Like, I understand when people hear a song, they're like confirmation, but these people actually believe, like, okay, this one person, the story that I heard, okay, from another person, about this other person, so I don't know them personally, but they were saying that that other person, like, they were in romantic delusion. So this is like, definitely this person's got Venus square Neptune, Venus Neptune, probably going on in their chart. Neptune or Pisces in the 5th or the 7th house, okay? Probably, okay? Or Pisces, yeah, Pisces descendant. Anyways, so this person thought in their mind, okay, that some person that they liked was sending them a song on the radio. Like, they actually believed that this person was sending them a song on the radio. Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, I heard the song, confirmation, you know, like for fun, where you're like, oh, confirmation, you know, but it's like a completely different delusion where you're like, oh, this person's actually sending it to me, right? So that's what I mean. Like, those are people who aren't like grounded. They're like not integrated. You know what I mean? Like, they could be psychic, like they could be picking up on something, but they're not integrated, okay? So that's the thing. That's what happens sometimes for people whose crown chakra is too open, but they're not grounded in the root chakra. So it's like, it's all a balancing act. Like, life is really a balancing act. Is really what it is. You said black crystals help protect you psychically and energetically. Okay, so that's so funny. You guys, okay, so I was still like in my partying days. I was telling you guys about this earlier. So I was still in my partying days when I would go out. It was just like so interesting to see. And this is what I mean, like when you're coming out of the lower densities and you're going into the higher densities, okay? So it's like part of you has the awareness, but part of you still behaving in these like shadow behaviors, right? So I'm like still going out and like partying and doing all these things. And it's like, even though I was doing that, I would still bring crystals with me. I would like put them in my shirt and so on and so forth, like to like protect me. But it's like all that I really had to do in those situations was like not drink alcohol. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's part of the journey, like the evolutionary journey. So it's like you have some awareness, but you're still behaving in certain ways. So yeah, but yeah, crystals will protect you. Yes, crystals will definitely protect you. You said, let me see. You said oftentimes your intuition is spot on and sometimes it's wildly wrong. So the times that is wrong, okay, it's something that is either a wound or like a hopeful moment or like a desire, like you're not seeing it clearly for whatever reason. So you kind of have to start pinpointing like what is wrong. Do you know what I mean in terms of your intuition? Because if you're actually in tune, it'll be right every time. Okay, so if it's wrong in that situation, it could have been something like maybe you were hopeful for an outcome, maybe it was a desire, maybe it was a fear, maybe it was a wound. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you're like fine-tuning it, just like anything, okay? Yeah, it's a tool. You said you're a Taurus sun rising, your natal Mars, 0 Aries, 12th house. Any thoughts on the current transits, Neptune, Saturn in there? I'm trying to think, what house is it transiting? I don't do transit readings or like predictive readings, but let me know what house is it transiting, okay? The Neptune and the Saturn. Is it transiting your 12th or is it transiting like, you know, sometimes the houses are divided differently. Sometimes it's like partly in the 12th and so on and so forth. So let me know. You said, whoa, Neptune in the 7th house can cause a person to be confused about others' intentions or conversations. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about people who are like in romantic delusion to the point where it's like they think a celebrity is sending them a song or celebrity is talking to them. Like people that they've never met, okay? I'm kind of giving you guys an extreme example. Sometimes it can be with people that they met, but it's like that person might have not shown any romantic interest in them, for example. And unfortunately, that's just like the extreme shadow. Obviously, it's not going to be everyone who has these placements. It's just the extreme shadow manifestation of like romantic delusion, okay? Or some people might call it erotomania. Okay, you guys can look that up if it resonates, okay? It's erotomania, I think that's the term. Or some people might say limerence, but I think erotomania could be more accurate. It's like when they create this like whole story, and not just that, but it gets to the point where it's like they think that these people are communicating with them when they're not, right? So that's just like the shadow of the energy, right? Obviously that's gonna not be everybody. It's like very rare case scenarios, but yeah, I'm kind of giving you guys the example so you guys can learn how to differentiate the energy. You guys want to learn how to differentiate energies by feeling into them, okay? To see like what is it? You said listening to the wrong music can also shape your reality. Absolutely. Yes. You said Charles Manson thought the Beatles were talking to him through music. See, there you go. Okay. See, that's the perfect example of like the shadow crown. Okay. So when you are in the crown chakra in the shadow, right? Like that's not grounded or rooted in reality. Like, did he know them? Do you know what I mean? Like, why would he think that? Right. So it's this. It's this. You said we can feel two different things at once. You think it's very much human to have contradictions and contrasts. Yes, but the intuition is one, in my opinion. Like, you have to get, like, when you're in tune with your intuition, like, and this is the thing, you always have to explore, right? Hey, Claire, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here. You have to explore, you have to learn the self is really what it is. And that takes time, and it's trial and error a lot of the time, right? That's what I was saying to the other person too, when they said sometimes their intuition is completely wrong. The reason it's wrong is because there's something going on with the lower chakras probably that's pulling you in that direction, right? Like where you're picking up on something, right? But it's going into a different direction, right? So sometimes people aren't grounded. Sometimes their crown chakra is open. That happens a lot, okay? And this is the issue again. Sometimes with psychedelics, plant medicine, it like opens people up too much, right? And they're not grounded, right? You need to develop these things slowly, right? It's a slow progress, right? It's like the body is like attuning to these things, okay? You said you mentally, oh, I like that. You mentally place a gold permission rose to protect you. There you go in your auric field. See, everybody has like their own thing, right? So you guys just kind of have to figure out what's your thing in terms of like dealing with energies around you is really what it is. Like, you know, what will protect you, you know? I think it's just something that yeah, cognitive dissonance. Exactly. Exactly. You said, let's see what else you guys saying in here. I'm just going back up. You said 8 p.m. here in the UK. Hey, in the UK, thank you. You said, what are aspect placements for athletes that have endurance? That's going to be Sun, Mars, okay? Sun, Mars. That'll probably be one of the best ones. Sometimes Mars, Pluto, okay, for athletes too. Depends what kind of athlete it is. I've seen Aries in athletics. Of course, all the fire signs will be different types of athletics. I've seen Scorpio in a lot of athletics, but Scorpio, I find, tends to do like the solo types of athletics, okay? So I've seen Scorpio energies, for example, in a lot of like Muay Thai, boxing, right? Kind of where they're depending on themselves. It's like the fighter energy, but it's like solo. Does that make sense? Because unless there's other energies taking place in the chart, I don't find Scorpio to be like a team player, okay? They're very much about the self and depending on the self, right? And they're intuitive too, right? Because sometimes like athletes have to be intuitive, right? You have to know sometimes what to strike and so on and so forth, right? Especially in those things. I've seen a lot of Virgo too, okay? I've seen a lot of Sag Virgo combinations too for athletes, okay? Where it's like, again, Sag gives them the athletic energy and then Virgo is like perfecting it is really what it is. So I've seen that too. But Sun Mars is going to give you the endurance that you're asking about. Aries has a lot of energy too. Obviously, as long as it's not negatively aspected, right? So keep that in mind. Yeah, it takes time. Honestly, it's a journey. It's really a journey. It's a journey, especially like when you're just getting in tune with your intuition, right? Because you know, it's something that's not taught, right? And a lot of the time, intuition overrides logic, okay? And you have to be able to feel it. So that's another theme in the chat today. That's what I was talking about earlier too, okay? It's like, in terms of the intuition, like you have to get in tune with your heart space so it's pure energetically. You have to purify the vessel. You have to get in tune with the inner child, right? You have to make sure that you're not operating under the lower chakras and all of these things, because it's like you have people who are intuitive sometimes, but like they operate out of their lower chakras. Like, for example, narcissists, okay? Or even sociopaths, like any of these people, you know, I find them sometimes to be intuitive, but in the shadow sense, right? Because they are like intuitively picking up on maybe the other person's wounds or needs, right? So they're, you know, using it in a shadow sense, okay? But at the same time, you know, let's say people who maybe even have like a sexual addiction, right? It's like that's the only thing that's on their mind. You know, they're in this addiction. So it's like they might have intuition, but it's like they're using the intuition to soothe, you know, the lower chakra thing, right? Or whatever it is, or sometimes drug addiction too, okay? So that's the thing. It's like, I do believe that everyone's intuitive because everyone has a gut feeling at the end of the day. Like you hear people saying things like, oh, that gives me a good vibe. That gives me a bad vibe, right? But to have heightened intuition, you have to integrate, okay? You have to clear, you have to heal, you have to clear the lower chakra things, okay? You have to go more into the heart space so you can go into the higher chakras so it's clear, so it's pure information that you're getting, okay? And it's a process because it's also connected to like sacrificing quote unquote things. So that's like the inversion that the dark does in terms of their sacrifices. But in terms of like the light version, it's like a gradual process throughout life where you sacrifice, aka you let things go, you let people go, okay? You let situations go so you can come more in tune with yourself, ultimately, is really what it is, okay? So it's the journey of the self at the end of the day, and it's always evolving, right? Is really what it is. But the thing is like, you know, just going back to the romantic delusion for a second, sometimes with these people, what happens with them is like the other person gives them like a glimmer of hope, okay? And I think that that's what they hook into and they hold on to that. And then it's like because the delusion, like the way the mind operates for them just goes too far in terms of like the stories they are inventing about this person, okay? And sometimes that can be connected to deep loneliness as well, too, because like if you have like relationships in your mind, right? It's like a form of avoidance in the physical plane too. Does that make sense? Exactly. So wouldn't it be fun if we all just did our best in life and didn't really care about the outcome? I think that that's the thing. You know what I mean? Like I think that that's the whole like purpose, or not the purpose, but like that's where you want to get to, okay? You said you saw a study that psychopaths choose victims based on body language and how they walk. You start to live. Okay, so that was a different thought. Yes, okay. So the first thought you said here, you said you saw a study that psychopaths choose victims based on their body language, exactly, of how people walk. Exactly. So if you're walking around, and like honestly, everyone should probably take self-defense classes, you know what I mean? Or at least look like they take self-defense classes, okay? Look like you can like take somebody, okay? So everyone should like train themselves to walk, or like just have that vibe, right? Is really what it is. So you said, by the way, you said that about athletics in your Scorpio chart, which was dead on. You prefer tennis and track. So yeah, that's Scorpio. Like, because Scorpio used to be one Mars, right? So there is an element with Scorpio, and that's also part of their energy purging or clearance with the Scorpio energy. So they will be interested in some sort of athletics, okay? Even like, let's say combinations of like Mars and Scorpio, Mars and Capricorn could also like, depending on the rest of the chart, let's say there's a Sag energy in there or an Aries, like that will make someone like definitely like want to get to the top, right? Mars and Aries, Mars and Scorpio, Mars in Capricorn, right? Let's say they have Sun conjunct Mars, like that will give athletic energy to a person, right? But like if it's an energy that has, for example, Scorpio, these people are going to want to do solo things, okay? So like solo sports where they like don't have to work with a team, okay? That's not really like a team player type energy. So for example, like a soccer player, you probably won't see too much Scorpio in there for them. You said, regarding the question presented by Three Heavens Healing, you've always wondered, is it really body language that predators look for, or is it energy? Big question. I think it's like a mix of both, right? Because in terms of body language, it's probably like the energy that you're carrying within you. A lot of the time, these people, allegedly, in my opinion, obviously I'm not a psychologist, but I think they go after people that have like an experience similar to that when they were younger or something of that sort. Like it's stuck in their energetic field, and it's almost like they pick up on it. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but like, okay, so I guess because I take public transportation a lot, so like sometimes I see people who are on substances, and it's interesting because it's like sometimes like I feel like because they're on the substance, like it's like a shadow substance and they have an entity operating through them, they can like see like around you energy, like they can hook into whatever's going on energetically around you, right? Or like if you have a lot of light energy or whatever, right? It's like a moth to a flame sometimes. So like these predator types of people, like in the psychopath situations and so on and so forth, allegedly, my opinion, I'm again not a psychologist, but I think they hook into something in the other person's energy field, okay? Where it's like, again, you know, they might say it's body language, but it's like both. It's energy and body language. I think that they are kind of hooking into. Maybe they won't say that it's energy because they probably don't think like that, but, and I don't think also, like, I'm not taking the responsibility away from them, but I think a lot of those people are either just like demons or have demons operating through them, okay? And even if they have dark energy operating through them, it's like, how did they allow that into their vessel or into their body, okay? So yeah, okay, what are the chart? Hey Sarah, how are you doing? Okay, so chart indicators of an entrepreneur. If you guys go on my TikTok, and I have playlists on there too, but like from back in the day, okay, so back when I did more TikTok, I had playlists on there too. I have one for like careers, okay? I'm not sure if I did one for entrepreneurs, but I did a bunch of other ones. Anyways, so for entrepreneurship, it's going to be a lot of first house energy. It's going to be a lot of Aries energy in the natal chart for entrepreneurship, okay? Oh, also Capricorn. Capricorn energy in the natal chart as well. I mean, it could be any of the cardinal signs. Like it could be them. It just could be different types of entrepreneurship. But Sagittarius too might be interested in entrepreneurship, but there has to be something grounding the Sag because Sag is mutable. So they have to learn discipline, okay? All right, you guys, I'm going to leave now. Thank you so much for being here, for being a part of the live, for your questions, like, shares, and subscribes. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day or evening, wherever you are. Bye.